look at. I'll send you guys the link on Saturday.
Facts.
Great for the whole fitness deal. I missed it last week Saturday, but this Saturday I'm definitely in the Saturday. The first one I did, I almost died. So and it was just whining.
Okay.
So
All
yeah.
right. Yeah, I don't think that whining thing is just so it's serious wood. Don't feel is
I know. I whine
mm-hmm.
for carnival all the time. It is clear that my whining
Okay.
genes is only be around certain times a year. Other than that,
Facts.
outside of that, it's too much, man.
You know,
So,
all right.
yeah,
Yeah, you on
Kosi had
Kosi
a
and then
whole. He was very upset. He thought last night was cancelled, and he, poor fella.
we had a
Um,
breakdown. Kosi have
yeah,
a breakdown, I see
he was
business.
like, but all I had last night, I was like, well, yeah, we had Monday night. We just didn't have Tuesday.
Jesus.
So
All right, let me finish what I doing now because
we have to apologize. Yeah, go ahead and do your thing, and I guess we could enjoy the music in the meantime.
For the first time I see you, love, you got me, baby.
That's
You know, girl, I know that I will fall for you. You got to know that everyone falls. Oops, I done fell so deep, baby. Oops, I want you for me, baby. Oops, I want you for me, baby. Oops, I done fell so deep, 'cause everyone falls in love sometime. I don't know about you, but it ain't a crime. If you let me love you, love you, love you, love you for a long time, baby. If you let me touch and if you let me love you till the morning.
Yeah, Tommy Guns. It's around you. Baby, don't think you don't know well I want that thing. The way you shake and turn it always got me thinking I just can't live. Baby, don't play. No, you don't know well I want that thing. The way you shake and move your way got me thinking I just can't wait. Baby, don't play. Step up in this like I'm the one you like. Yeah, I'm the one you like. Turn it up. 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 Step up in the like I'm the one you like. Yeah, I'm the one you like. And I be talking like ain't scared to lose the fist fight. Be grabbing on my like to see if it'll fit right. That's just the way. Step up in this like I'm the one you like. Yeah, I'm the one you like. And I be talking like I ain't scared to lose the fist fight. And she grabbing on my like she wanna see if it'll fit right. That's just the way.
All you self-promoters are janky. We established like the Yankees. This whole game thankless. We moving militant, but somehow you the one tanking. All you self-promoters are janky. All you self-promoters are janky. Yeah. Yeah. All you self-promoters are janky. 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 We established like the Yankees. This whole game thankless. Moving militant, but some don't want thinking. No limit where I could take it. You know me as a Chris sender. Check pick up. I thought we looked out for one another. Saw us all as brothers in a struggle. Too blessed to be humble. This is different in the city I come from. All of a sudden I got people how much they truly respect me. They hold a meaning to spells envy. They trying to tempt me. The higher I get, the less they accept me. Even had the OGs try and press me. Ha 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 ha. No way out, cause I'm already in it. I'm not attending when I do a show and get a ticket. Good business can clean millions, I got the vision. I've been had it since no scrubs and no pigeons. Even back when I wasn't as poppin'. when they told me take an R&B on the road, and I told them no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky. I tried to make the right choices with the world watching.
To my real ones that know this ain't for you. To my real ones that know this ain't for you. To my enemies, and still love all day. Everybody's still growing and learning themselves, right? My true story. Yo. Pondering how to approach. Some of y'all sensitive, but y'all still need to know. When the hot bunch of sheep can have opinions on the goat. We all on the same continent and off the same boat. Remember early on, y'all ain't treat me all the same, no. Used to question why the brothers even rock with me before. Remember y'all wonder, used to wonder about wonder. Question why they ever want to push a black woman. It's on my label who ain't want me in the front end. Some sisters in the industry, I know y'all was front. I know it. Dressed too tomboy, rap too lyrical. I can say more, the pain will bring a few tears to you, huh? I shed a few with Boo Bad in Fort Lauderdale. Now I'm booed up, they boo hoo, cause I didn't fail. Know who you are. I was told names never tell. The weight that I carried those summers, I'm never.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, and I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, can you feel it coming in the air tonight? Oh Lord. Oh Lord, well, if you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand. I've seen your face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. Well, I was there and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes. See, you could wipe off that grin. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies. And I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, and I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Jackie, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Rachel.
Evening. Hi.
Every week,
Hi,
yeah.
hi, hi, everybody. Hi.
You good?
How you doing? So, Hannah?
Quiet.
Yeah, man. I do.
Support.
I'm going to be off and on trying to multitask. But I did want to ask you, remember I'd asked you before, does the conversation tend to be Trinidad focused, which would make sense, right? So what are some of the things that you guys have talked about on past sessions that makes it worth doing over and over?
Well, I mean, it's been Trinidad centered mainly because it's mostly Trinidadians in here, even the ones that are not living here. So, like,
I want to come back home.
doesn't live here,
Well,
but
yeah.
you know, he wants to come home. So there's that.
Mhm.
And we've really, I mean, because we've been receiving daily updates with regards to COVID-19 and just overall daily updates of everything that's happening globally.
Mhm.
There is always a reason to find something to discuss. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Things happening in the US, things happening in Sweden, just monitoring the illness across the world, different trends happening. Also in terms of how life is changing. So we've focused a lot on discussions with teachers and how this new
Mm.
situation is affecting
Mm.
schooling and that kind of stuff. We're lucky to have a few teachers
Yeah,
who are in here
boy.
um, sometimes
You
to
know, you know what? My niece in Barbados, they just started online schooling. Today's Wednesday, I think, Monday.
mm-hmm,
And I was, and it's my same thought for Grenada and any of the islands, which is, well, I know she has access to tech. Her father is a IT fellow.
mm-hmm.
But what about the rest? How, have the teachers talked about how kids who don't have access to tech might be having this opportunity to,
Advantage for
yeah,
real.
boy.
To be fair,
Oreo.
Rachel,
Or you're just out here being
we
himself.
spoke as even kids who have access.
Mhm.
Um, we've kind of been dealing with the fact that there's failures in engagement.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
entire teaching method and the modality of teaching is not the same as face to face.
Mhm.
And we've had like a ton of convos on that from a range. The cool thing is all the teachers that we've ever had in here, they all like really love their kids, which is so dope. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's really interesting to see that the position that our kids have been put in, and our teachers rather, is that it's basically every man for yourself, figure out what you could use, do what you could use. And that's like a surefire way to cause back and trouble and problems.
Mhm.
So like all of those things we've been discussing, in addition to the usual, the kids that don't have the tech or access to the tech. So you might have a laptop, you might have internet, might have a laptop, what you could do on
Yeah,
your
I,
phone.
I heard a podcast the other day. I mean, this is wide across the board in all countries,
Yeah, it's
right?
all over the world, not just here.
And not just young kids, but also like people
Higher
at
education.
university as well. They had this podcast I was listening to yesterday where the young lady was saying that her circumstances, she's in like a 1-bedroom apartment with her parents because the school closed. She used to stay at school. Her
Mhm.
intent had been finish her degree at school. She used to stay at school on the summers to work and so forth, and then go and find a job.
Mhm.
But with this situation, she had to go back to Florida. The school is in Pennsylvania, and it's a 1-bedroom apartment with the parents with one computer.
Mhm.
And the parents are what you call it, food truck owners, and of course they now are trying to figure out how they can, what alternatives do they have because the food truck is not in operation. So now they're trying to share this one computer between this one doing the thesis and the parents trying to run their business. And it's just really, really difficult, whereas if you're at school, you can go to the library, you can use the
Well, I mean,
resources.
to be fair, even in some
Yeah.
schools in the Caribbean, they don't have the resources in the schools either, right? So,
Right,
I
right,
mean, I
right.
don't even have to go that far, Rachel, to the States. My neighbor's kids right next door is 3 kids, 2 of them in USC, one of them is in secondary school, and they have one laptop for all of them. And
Yeah,
the
boy.
times when Joseph has class and Abigail has class at the same time, so she tries to do class on her phone. And at the end of the day, I think Acacia is one of the things I had said a long time ago. Devices matter. Like we get to the point where we go, oh well, the kids have cell phones so they could interact. If this was a class and you have this on your phone, it's fine. And then Miss Acacia, she shares her PowerPoint or she starts to write. What are you gonna do with your cell phone screen like this big? How are you gonna, interact? So all these things matter. Just by the way, my background is I'm a multimedia and audiovisual manager for UTT. And I
Okay.
would before that in UE for like God knows how many years, like over a decade. So distance education, video conferencing, web conferencing in particular, things that is my subject area, and I speak to it like at conferences, and I break this thing down all the time. So
Right,
it was
right.
interesting to hear I mean, like Cassia is like I'm basically negative Nancy because everybody's like, "Oh, this is great. The kids are blind." I'm like, "Nah, it's not. Them kids ain't taking this on." Like literally, we were sharing memes, Rachel, like internally in our department, which we basically teach teachers how to teach. And we were sharing memes that my son sent to me. There's this kid with his headphones on in the toilet playing PlayStation. It's like you basically put your camera on mute, you put your mic on mute, and you go play video games with the rest of the class. Nobody's in the class when you think you're singing your soul out. So engagement mitigation. This is so broad and it's so wide. Me personally, I feel like I've talked it out. But the good news for me is because, oh snap, I was supposed to call back Terry. I know I had somebody from the States call me. I was supposed to call back. Like engaging some people right now that want to, both in terms of business and civics, deal with trying to help teachers and amalgamate this and provide training and you know, that kind of stuff. But as I had to say to them, that's a kind of a difficult proposition a month into this, because the reality is, unless and insofar we get some centralized position from the ministry in terms of technology tools, you know, they already send out the curriculum. There's really no way to do that as a third party. So it's interesting on all sides of the spectrum. The teachers, like, I think from these conversations, we've broken it down, Acacia, into 4 kinds of teachers. The teachers who's technology tanty and don't know. The teachers who don't know but want to know. The teachers who feel they know but don't know. And the teachers who will tell you, I'm not using my electricity and my laptop to teach people things. It's really weird. Hey, look, Yaisa. Did I get it? Oh, she didn't hear me. So I don't know. I think I got it right. Yaisa, did I say Yaisa right?
Za. Yaisa.
Hey, Yaisa.
Hi, Yaisa.
Yeah, no, it's really, it's just been really, it's been on my mind. Of course, luckily, my nieces all have access to equipment, but in general, and even more so when you start talking about countryside and access to internet itself, and, you know, stable internet, and, you know, it's just, you know, if it rains, you might have problems. If it's too hot, you might have problems.
Of course.
This is really perturbing, you know.
No, for sure. I mean, look, take Acacia tonight fighting with her dog, right? Let's say that there was a day and it was class and Acacia has everything, laptop, this, that, the other, keys. How are you dealing with the dog? I mean, like, how do you deal with living in a metro urban situation where there's like high noise? Is not just so. And as I say, even if I give you everything, did your instructor spend the time to revamp their face-to-face teaching? And I mean, like, you're doing instruction. You've done instruction if you've been in a dance studio in front of people. And you've now had to switch over to teaching online, right? It's really synchronous face-to-face. And you've had to figure out, okay, how do I do this? How do I assess that they're doing the right thing? Because you also don't want to be in a situation where somebody break the hip because they're trying to do something you do. So you as an instructor have had to sit down and really think through in broad strokes and in small strokes. How do you get the content over? But then how do you assess that it's being done correctly? Right? So you understand the struggle on that. So even if I give you all those things, if the individual didn't do what you just went through here in your own life and sit down and work that through, if the individual didn't make, you know, a conscious effort to say, okay, in addition to the synchronous face-to-face, which is what we're doing now, we're having a synchronous conversation, I'm going to also try to record a couple of videos, post it on my website with, you know, some information on the page, breaking it down, maybe some pictures with some still photos of me doing particular positions. So now you have asynchronous content. So let's say I was bumped off in the middle of your class, I could still make sure my form is good. I could still make sure I'm not injuring myself. I could still, so to be fair to teachers, that's a difficult proposition to ask somebody who's just been a third grade math teacher to all of a sudden be like, you're now an instructional designer for distance learning. Go, figure it out. You have a week. Figure it out. You know, so for me, the bugbear, the primary issue that I've taken umbrage to the point where I'm sure Cassia and Maggie and I'm fed up on, is that at the end of the day, all of our ministries of education and Mad Woman Betsy DeVos in the States, for instance, they're the people who push the curriculum needs down from a central position. We're paying you the big bucks to do big bucks management stuff. Now the crisis is here, and you've said, all I can figure it out. So on the level of the school, if you teaching dance and Roxanne teaching math and I'm teaching, like, you know, physics, we just doing wherever the hell it is we could stick on the wall. And what kind of impact does that have on the kids? If the kids have all the things that you came into this convo worrying about, that I'm like not even worried about. Like, I'm like, that's the least of my
I'm not even right.
Like, you know what, they actually may be better off if they don't have access, they don't have a laptop and they don't have internet, because they may not be getting this kind of half-baked damaging instruction. Because you can't, unteaching harder than teaching. Tell me a lie, you just teach. Unteaching harder than teaching. You ever meet somebody who wants to tell you as a teacher how to do what you're trying to teach them?
Exactly. If the process leaves the child wired to have a certain kind of reaction to learning, then that's very difficult to unlearn, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, as well as this particular thing I was listening to was also just the psychological impact of it, which will come up tonight, of just being in one spot but for so long.
Yes.
Right? So even if you have access to everything, can you still do the work based on the fact of, the psychological pressures of staying in one space and
the resounding thing
for a long period?
Yeah, the resounding thing for me though is hearing like wonderful, fantastic, like outside of the curve teachers like Cornelia and Laura and Crystal. Laura and Crystal not being here right now. Listening to just the skill of them and the love that they put in out there, to me just like, oh my God, come on people, get it together, help these people out, get them what they need to get these things done. They're always going to be people who are going to be unwilling and don't want to do it, but then you have so many. I think for me, that's the big positive takeaway that I don't ever get to focus on, Rachel, is that there are a ton of teachers who've demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that they will do whatever it takes for their kids. Because, it might be your child, but it's their kids. And they put in the time and the effort and the work. And it's just, just give them this much help. Just standardize a couple of things. Just, put them on the right track. It's not that hard. We could do this. And we could have done it in a flip switch emergency too, but see, love you. Anyhow, it's 8:39. This is a Cassia meeting, not mine. You go put me in trouble, Risha. Cassia is the Minister of National Security.
Thank you.
2025.
All right, cool. So it's 9 somebody. I just gonna kind of go over housekeeping because we have a lot of new people here tonight. And I know it's because a lot of you want to see Rox. So I'm really, really grateful for her being here with a beautiful smile. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this tonight. I initially told the people who I know were more or less interested in your contribution tonight that you'd be kind of going in from 9. So we should get in more people by that time. For all the newbies, here's how the room works. Of course, we remain respectful, no cussing, etc. No cussing in the aspect of don't curse anybody. You may be able to use obscene otherwise if you're, expressive. I am expressive generally, so I have a few hit or misses sometimes. Don't you know how. But of course, we have respect for each other in terms of whatever discussions that we have in. If it is we have any different opinions, anything like that. The main crux of this entire thing is really to try to find solutions to all the issues and stuff that we seem to be facing, rather than complaining about it all the time, or just complaining about it all the time. But today's session was really focused. It was kind of lucky today because Maggie actually reached out to me. It was, I guess it's happenstance. Today on the presser, the COVID-19 presser, to people who aren't here, we would generally have a presser every day at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock from the Minister of Health and the Minister of National Security or the Prime Minister with whatever we're doing countrywide to address the COVID-19 situation. So we'd get an update on how many people are recovered, if there were any deaths, if there were any new cases, that kind of stuff. Today's presser focused a lot on mental health. They had Dr. Othello, who is the head of the mental health department, I believe, here. Don't ask me the specific designation. I don't know. I can admit to that. And she spoke a lot about, one, kids at home, parents being frustrated, everybody being frustrated. She actually said something that made me kind of scoff and smile, because she said, parents who are getting very frustrated at home, don't forget to apologize to your children when you're wrong, when you snap at them, and you feeling your frustration, realize that your children feel frustrated too. And I was like, what Caribbean parents she telling that to? Because apology, I don't know, I might be an apologetic parent, but I don't expect that many others are. So that's that. next thing is that if you have a contribution to make, there is the raise your hand icon somewhere in your settings in your screen. If you have a contribution to make, please raise your hand, and you would be pretty much added to the queue, because sometimes you have more than one person's hand up at a time. We try to monitor it as best as possible to see whose hand came up first. Sometimes we may call on Lisle to contribute, and it's not, and you may not see his hand up, the blue hand, but it's because he can't put up his hand and he has to do this. So if you feel like I call Lisle before you, it's just because he's been like this for like half an hour. Right? Regarding the conversation we were having before, we have some teachers here who at any point we might be calling for some advice or some contributions. And of course, we have a few Trinis living outside. I mean, you all know Yiza already. I think you all spoke to Gideon the other night as well. And we have a few new other people here tonight. So, I mean, by all means, guys, contribute to the conversation as best as you can. Roxanne is here tonight to give some advice or essentially drop some gems with regards to handling the pandemic situation mentally, how it affects our mental health. Because of that conversation we were having the other night, and we realized that a lot of people are having a lot more problems adjusting than we all would like to admit, right? Because the minute you say that you have anxiety, people think you're crazy or some nonsense. And so she's here to really help demystify that entire situation. So, you know, by all means, please listen with an open mind and open heart, and be cognizant of the fact that we all need help or guidance in some way, shape, or form. Woo, look at how much all it tonight. Already newbies and thing. Perhaps feeling a little excited. So before Roxanne comes on at 9, we just want to kind of keep the conversation going first. Before we start that, I just have one more kind of apology to make, as well. It's not really an apology. I made the statement to you all that we will go for 3 days this week, mainly because nobody was sleeping, right? Because we kept talking here, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, Canella have a presentation to do by a certain hour, and she'd logging out of here 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And then we all beat up the next day and have to work, and then we all come back on time by 8:30, talk again, and then we ain't going back to sleep, right? So I thought to space all these sessions to kind of allow a little productivity. And as I mentioned to Lisle before, I really wanted to kind of recalibrate what my intention or my initial purpose was for this particular forum. So I hope you guys like the changes that are going to go forward. Yeah, I just look forward to everybody's contributions tonight. So without further ado, Yiza, and I will ask Yiza and Courtney, and then I would ask Rox to start at 9.
I just wanted to say I really like that you're doing it. Unfortunately, I can't join as often. I kind of like that you guys are doing it less, so I don't have FOMO of what you're talking about, we're doing tonight. But I'm really happy you're doing it. The few times that I have, the 2 times I've been able to join, it was really fantastic. So I'm really happy to be here tonight and to hear Roxanne talk her stuff. I just wanted to say that. So thanks for putting it together. It's a cool space.
Yeah, well, yeah, I said didn't feel like 2 times though. Feel like forever.
Because we have a little bit of newbies here tonight, if when your contribution comes up, you can just give a quick, short example of name, what you do, and we can move on. Can we do that? Do you mind? Awesome. Okay, so yeah, so you can just tell us what you do. Sorry.
Yeah, but what was that comment you made? I didn't hear you.
No, I was saying it's actually dope. I didn't feel like it's twice. I feel like we've been on for like a gazillion times.
It's like, only twice.
I see you put your child to sleep already. We done day. We good.
Yeah, but he asked if he can stay in line tonight. I'm like, no, go in your bed. But yeah, so quick synopsis. I'm sorry, what was the task, Cassie?
Just who you are, what you do.
Oh, so I am Yiza, and I am a neuroscientist. I work in a biotech company right now, focusing on using the immune system to prevent neurodegeneration.
Okay, awesome. Courtney, you wanted to say something? Hand is up.
So last night, true story, I'm like a junkie at 7:30, logging into the meeting, because I'm saying, yeah, man, we have things to discuss tonight. Only to realize there was no meeting. So, you know, you see, Andy agrees with me. Salt. You know, you can't give us the crack, Cassie.
I told you all. I told you all.
I totally forgot.
Cassie's
Like,
the crack woman right now. She had the block. She had the block.
you had the whole block hot because you decide Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right?
Yeah.
But that's all I wanted to say. Oh, sorry. My name is Kidney Andrews. I work in IT. Nice to meet all of you who I
You
don't
look in
know
IT where?
in the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Right? But it's love still. It's love still. I go take what I could get.
We'll see what will happen next week. But I needed the rest too, guys. I came home last night and I was supposed to go to bed at 7 and I was on the phone from 5 to 7, 7 to 7:30, whatever to 9 o'clock. I just kept going, and I never went to sleep until like 11, you know, and that was supposed to be my free night. So clearly it didn't happen anyway. Rach, because you were talking before, if you could give us a quick little something. We have 12 minutes to kind of get a little other conversation in before Rox starts to talk.
Hey, y'all. Most of the people that I know inside here, which is 3 people, they know me by Rachel. My professional stage name is Onika. I am a Broadway performer and all that entails. And so I sit in a pretty unique position of hoping my industry comes up with an amazing innovation, since we depend on crowd gatherings for what I do. So the conversation on mental health is absolutely important at this time. And that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I guess the regulars, Andy and Vanola are here. If you all want to give us a little something, who you are. Andy, you could go first.
Good night, folks. I'm a chartered accountant. I specialize more in finance and business development. The question of mental health definitely comes into play because the test of my patience is wrong. So thanks for coming, Roxanne, and looking forward to hear what you bring to the table.
Maggie?
Good evening, everyone. Magdalene, accountant by profession. Yeah.
Okay, short and sweet, cool. Canela?
Hi everyone, Canelo. I am a primary school teacher at SEA level.
Awesome. Okay, Vanola is probably busy. Oh, Lyle. Lyle, if you can give us a little something. Please and thanks with your radio voice.
Yeah, no. Just for the new people, it's not me, it's all the microphone. I swear, right? Just, you know, it's the technology. My name is Lisle Waldron. I am the multimedia and audiovisual manager for the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Audiovisual stuff has kind of been like my background now for like 20 years. So I found an interesting series of unfortunate events in this pandemic, as you could tell. So one of the reasons I can't do the raised hand is because I'm not a guest like y'all. I'm the host of this meeting, with Akasi being the hostess with the mostess. So any questions you all have in the broader sense? I mean, we here, we family, we all we got. How to do this or how to do that, or you have an idea. I do a ton of consulting as well as a side gig. Mostly business consulting, but usually ends up being business consulting with a view to some technological disruption that some client wants to get done. So yeah, that's the short.
Awesome. What I want to do is I am going to open today's press conference update and just kind of go over it a little quickly, seeing that we have a few minutes before Rox is ready to begin. Just a share screen. So I know a lot of you are not, well, a lot of you here tonight are not in Trinidad, but this can also kind of give you an idea of what is currently happening. Okay, so these were the updates shared earlier on today. I know most of you already know them, but we just, you know, reiterating. Of course, from the Ministry of Health, we have The PAHO report as April 30th, 2020, overall picture to focus on, 1159 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 62 deaths from CARICOM states. At the time of the report, there may be different figures. Well, you know, a couple of days, a few days. TNT was reported to have sporadic phases, and this is where we must monitor. We cannot move from sporadic to clusters, and we cannot go into a state of complacency. I think we all kind of seen that happening already. Everybody outside without a mask, behaving like everything is everything, right? The Ministry of Health has taken serious measures to suppress the virus. However, the fires are still very present. His words today were that the fires are still raging, to which I agree. We have one active case who is hospitalized and in the high dependence unit, which is likely the last person who would have been tested or who would have been confirmed. It's almost 2 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 10 days or so. All 552 community tests are negative, which is great. We need to be aware of the psychological state as we anticipate the second and third COVID-19 waves. There is worry, fear, and concern. Rates of stress and anxiety are high, and the elderly and children are of most concern as they may not understand the gravity of what is going on. I think we could all say that that is the case because we see all the tanties and grannies line up around the bank when it's pension time and whatever. It appears that they don't quite understand that social distancing is absolutely necessary. It is a challenge to be outside and watching people not doing the correct things, but then what do you do other than try to educate them? Dr. Hazel Othello, Director of Mental Health, there's the correct designation. A robust response for the psychological impacts of COVID-19 has been developed and is in line with global best practice. Diverse complementary approaches are required for this support. Note that this is not a sprint but a marathon. The psychosocial mental health technical working groups will meet in May and June, then bi-monthly meetings as long as the support is required for COVID-19. National COVID-19, Ministry of Health, PSS, whatever that means, response plan developed by the technical group and any gaps identified from the groups will be addressed. Training for Ministry of Health COVID-19 helpline responders for callers expressing psychological or psychosocial distress. Private sector sponsored APA services will be provided for Ministry of Health employees. Series of webinars will begin and will target specific groups. We hope in that Skilly and then get some play inside of there, because we also have to understand that, okay, so first let me preface that Skilly Bong is who we call the man on the ground, right? Regular fellas who may not necessarily be interested in the sophisticated language or the sophistication of anything that is currently happening, want to continue making the money, want to continue driving the taxi and doing regular things, not realizing that it's more detriment to them than they think. And the technical working group will continue to provide solutions according to international best standards and to ensure that the MHPSS remains part of the response mechanism for COVID-19. So we are looking at the TT case fatality rate is 6.90. The global case fatality rate is 7%, down by 0.1%, but it is what it is, right? So as you see today, Dr. Hazel Othello was really the person that was sharing a lot. And we really just want to kind of look at what the mental health aspect is. Rach, I'm not sure if that was a hands up. Okay, good. I see a few more people have joined. Sheena, Edward. Sheena, it's nice to have you. Sheena is actually from Barbados. Gerard Ferreira is here tonight. Also very nice to have you, Gerard. Hey, girl. Kerry. Well, Kerry is here. I'm really glad that Kerry is here. Daryl is back. Alicia and Gideon are here. And Aaron Nicholas is here as well. He is the head of Los Gents. TT, I don't know if you all have heard much about them, but please, I'll be sure to share a little bit about them before the end of the night. We have Vanola as usual, and Tahira heard. It's nice to see you, Tahira. And of course, our resident Floridian is inside. Kosi. Where did Lyle go again? Oh, there he is. Sweet. All right, so 8:57 p.m. I don't think we need to, I need to babble anymore before 9. I think when Roxanne is ready, she can dive right in. Yeah, I think you have a pretty receptive group tonight, and we look forward to your presentation.
So good evening, everyone, formally. I'm not going to do this very formally. I'm not at work. I'm not teaching my patients. I'm going to talk to you as regular people because what is the name? The skillybong or the whoever, I don't know how to say it. You know, I'm going to talk to you so that the information, if it's relevant or can be affected to somebody else, you can take it to them without having to wonder, what did she mean by that? So I'm going to start with that. The first thing I need to say about what we're experiencing is it's collective. Remember that word. And also that our body is a well-oiled machine, and it tells us a lot of things every day that we just don't really pay attention to. So if we're looking at the anxiety that we're experiencing right now, I will say that it falls on a spectrum, and it goes up and down depending on the situation that you're in. Okay, so collective and spectrum, those are your 2 words for today. So I'd like to always say that any distress that we experience is normal. When your belly's grumbling, your body's saying, I have a problem, so please feed me. So when you experience signs of anxiety, your body's saying, I have a problem, please do something about it. So if the case of hunger is something that we reference, anxiety is something that we all experience. You're not alone in this. Your presentation is different, but you're not alone in this. So I wanted to also say that. I like to normalize these things, especially in the West Indian community. As Cassie was saying, no, you shouldn't be anxious. What you're anxious for, get over it. What are you worried about? You have a roof over your head. There's people dying, there's people dead. They like to invalidate what you feel. So I wanted to start with that. So let's talk about let's do the generic symptoms, like how I would diagnose someone, but normalize them a little bit. So you have the fear, the constant panic, like something is coming, I don't know what it is, but I feel it. That's one thing. For some, it can feel like if they have asthma problems, it can feel like that. To others, it just feels like they can't breathe deeply enough. They're not regular breathing. To some, they can't sleep. For some people, they can get to sleep, can't stay asleep, but they're not sleeping the way that they should. So they wake up, and of course, you know, once you go a couple of days without good sleep, then you feel tired and fatigued all the time. Like you don't understand what it is. Coffee isn't doing it, right? Another thing that people say they have will be sweating, right? That nervousness, that sweatiness, and your heart rate goes up. Some people can actually feel it go up, like, oh gosh, my heart is fluttering right now. And some people think they're experiencing a heart attack, and it's not to that extent, but if it's not normal either, it's not your normal level of heartbeat. Some other stuff could be that if you have irritability, everything's fine, but you just, like we say, you can't be bothered, stop bothering me while you're talking. Do you chew like that all the time? Like those kinds of things are just irritating you more and more, and you just couldn't understand why it doesn't bother me on a regular basis, but today you're bothering me to an extent, right? GI problems, that's a nice way of saying either you're nauseous and you can't eat, or if you eat, it doesn't feel settled, or your appetite is affected, you don't eat. For me, I stop eating. I know people eat a lot, specifically ice cream, cookies, cake, carbs, happy feeling foods. So those are just general symptoms. I try not to list them like they do it in the commercials for the drugs, because I don't want nobody running to the doctor tomorrow to say I need meds for anxiety. I'm just telling you some of the symptoms that you could be experiencing on a regular basis. It's situational that some of us feel when we go on a job interview. You have a little feeling. You could have had many of those things when you went on a job interview. You could have those feelings when you're going on a first date. But when you go on the date and it's over, it leaves. Right now, what we're experiencing is it's not leaving. You went to bed and you slept. You had a glass of wine. You woke up, or any of those things, and it was still there. And so it's concerning. Does this sound familiar to anybody? I see hands. Cool. All right. So The word collective, I mentioned that earlier. Anxiety is about a realized fear or perception of fear. And right now we actually have a real fear. It's a real threat. And our perception of it is mutual. Things are not going well. We have infographics on news every day. You see numbers going up and you see the number of deaths going up. And the average person will see that and be worried and fretful about the future. And so that adds to your anxiety. So we have the normal stuff of worrying about yourself, and then also the constant uptick of the news, which is all they talk about. And it's going to just follow you everywhere to the point where you're not concentrating anymore. You don't feel excited about things that you like to do anymore. And the general people that you're now sheltered in place with, you really want to toss them out the window. So what's the next thing to do with that? I've kind of normalized what the symptoms are. The next thing to do is to figure out your coping skills. Our coping strategies are just managing. There's no one set plan for anybody. For example, I do not like deep breathing. If you tell me to take 10 deep breaths, I'm going to give you a chups. I hate it. But if that works for you, that works for you. So how we pick coping skills for everybody, just so you can figure out what your plan is going to be, is most of my things I recommend bring you back to your present or your body. When you're breathing hard and your heart is racing, all of those things, you deep breathe or you do whatever you need to do to start feeling back again your body. Or if you have that extra energy that anxiety produces, you need to do something to get it out. Some people like exercise. Some people like stretching. Some people like walking, dog, etc. Whatever you need to do, you need to get that energy out, right? The mindfulness. This has become such a catchphrase that people just roll their eyes about it, but it's been around for a very long time. And when you are dealing with constant anxiety, mindfulness brings you again back to present. So the deep breathing, the meditation, I like to call it savoring. Some of you like to call it intentional eating, whatever it may be. A lot of us throw back the coffee and run out the door, and we don't even remember what flavor coffee we had. We had a glass of wine, and we may know what it was when we first bought it, but we just drank it. So savoring is when you actually slow down and be like, this has some hazelnut in it. Okay, all right. Or this is a 2015 Malbec. This is pretty good. I like this. Okay, this is right. Or this rum is doing, boy, my tongue is on fire, right? As I feel about punching. Please don't shoot me. That's what it is. It's slowing down and savoring what it is you're doing. If you have a favorite meal, if you have a favorite ice cream flavor, don't just throw it back in your mouth and just be like, okay, I'm done. Take a scoop, sit down with it. How is that feeling? This is rich. Is this better than Ben & Jerry's? Or is it worse than Ben & Jerry's? Is this vanilla bean? I feel some peach. So what is this in my mouth? So I could go on and on with that. But that's what we call savoring, because instead of focusing on what it is that's bothering you, you're focusing on what you're eating, what you're drinking. And my most favorite, I have scents. I have a diffuser in each room of my house. A, because I like clean smells, but also if the smell is good, I actually have to stop and be like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's nice. Oh gosh, that's nice. Yeah, right? And that's why they're so popular. And that goes back to being mindful in your body, yes? You're breathing and you're slowing down that heart rate. You're reducing the level of stress that you're feeling. And then you're enjoying something that's relaxing, such as a good scent. Yeah? If you don't have a diffuser, I don't know what your access is to. Candles are great. I have found great candles at Family Dollar up here in America, which is like $4, or Walmart, or whatever you guys have. Or if you have access to a garden, stop and smell something. You know how they say stop and smell the roses? They're literally, you need to do this, so that as you're smelling it, what am I smelling? Is this good? It don't have a scent. What do I do? But you had to pause and focus and be present and smell it. And just doing that is slowing down all the respiration that you had that was excessive. Your heart rate has to slow down in order to match the breath that you're doing and breathing in and breathing out, right? And that brings down the level of anxiety. Now, I'm gonna pause just to make sure everybody's still with me, because I'm gonna go into just picking your coping skills for a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, looking good, okay. So what I recommend if you are looking for coping skills is, please don't pick one and assume that it'll work for everything, okay? I always recommend you have one for each area of your life. If we were back at work, you'd have one for your job. You have one for your transportation, whether you are riding on the subway, bus, your personal car, etc. You have one for those. Then after that, you have one for home, because that's where you're relaxed. So if you have one that doesn't fail, you have a host of other things that can kick in. What I find is you pick a coping skill you enjoy, and then it doesn't work and you're left to deal with whatever it is, or you come back and blame me for telling you to do something that didn't quite work. Let's not do that. So I pick several things. If you want to pick domains, I do body, mind, and spirit. So body is movement, mind is reading something, spirit is meditation, however you want to do it, but just have multiple venues of coping strategies. And another thing, as you are experiencing now, as you're being home, things that bothered you didn't bother you before, those kind of things. I find a good coping skill is grace. Giving yourself grace. Acknowledging in the moment that, oh my gosh, I am bothered by this, and it's okay to be bothered by this. I am not unusual for feeling that. And I'm pretty sure if I found 5 hands, I could find at least 4 of us who are experiencing something that used to bother us, but now does. So grace is a big coping skill, and I don't think we give ourselves grace enough. So, coloring books, I like to say that, but not everybody's for it, but something creative to almost lose yourself in. I like people who do knitting and crochet. God bless them, I can't do it. I tried, knit 1 purl 2, didn't go too far. I crocheted, and the minute I had to turn the corner, I couldn't turn the corner, so there went that. So something creative like that, repetitive, because then you again are focusing on the task and things return to automatic. Your brain then kicks back in and says, okay, inhale, exhale, and the respiration goes back to normal. What else do I normally recommend? If you have someone you can talk to, that would be great as well. But my word of advice on that is sometimes people's response to you is more about them and not about you. And so at this moment in time, we're all experiencing something. So if you don't get the support you need, please, please, please don't decide to just shut down and try to hold it to yourself. Maybe elicit someone else or write it in a journal, something like that. But please, please, please don't take that personal. Right now, I don't think we all are therapy. I went to school for this, but not everybody went to school for this. So their response to you when you finally expressing, you know what, I've been feeling this way for 2 weeks and I don't know what to do about it. And they just kind of say, oh, well, me too. That's more about them and not about you. Okay. Let's see what else. I think generally, there needs to be a ceremony, moving on to just how anxiety and grief are linked right now. A lot of us are thinking about their life before and they constantly stay in that. I used to be able to go out. I used to be able to do this. Man, I was supposed to be right now. Right now I'm supposed to be on a beach in Jamaica with my mother and father right now. So if I were to stay there, I would stay in a negative space. And I find anxiety comes in threes. You had one thought, there comes the second one, there comes the third, and you're in a spiral. And then you are overly anxious. So I like to have a ceremony and acknowledge it. I say negative feelings are like guests. You can welcome them in and you can also escort them out. So you have the moment. You say, gosh, yes, I'm reminiscing about the old days. I'm feeling uncertain about the new days. And then you let it go. Hopefully, right? Another thing is transitions are very huge. Instead of saying things will never be the same, which can cause a lot of anxiety because I'm removing hope from the equation, you move to things will be different. Doesn't that have a different feel to it already? Never be the same or things will be different. We don't know what different means, but we know that we may or may not like it, but we're going to be different, right? So it's all a matter of semantics sometimes, but you'll be surprised the power of wording. I'm going to pause. What about those with extreme anxiety? So thank you. That's on the spectrum on the other end. If the situation is that you wake up anxious and the symptoms, again, the hyperventilation, the rapid breathing, the sweating, the GI problems, poor focus, it is to the point where you are not able to function. As we say, it affects your normal everyday living. That is when you need to reach out to a professional. This is not a matter of calling your aunt or your good friend. That's the time that you seek out those supports. I know that there was a helpline mentioned, Cassie, that there's a helpline set up for people. I don't know if that's specifically for Ministry of Health people or if there's something separate, but we're doing a lot of telehealth stuff at my job. So I'm hoping that there's numbers available to you for that. If not, if you're insured, call them. I also know that there's people doing sliding scale, that kind of thing. That level of anxiety is not going to be managed by my deep breathing and my candles and my taking a walk or hugging your dog. So that's my little disclaimer is this talk is not to replace the proper evaluation of a mental health professional. So please, if you know someone in that situation, have them seek out a professional who can sit down and possibly even do multiple sessions in a week to kind of start addressing that symptom. And there may or may not be medication, but there'll be help. So naturally pessimistic about change. So anything is difficult. So pessimism is linked to there's a saying that to cancel out one negative thought, you have to have 3 positive thoughts. So if you're somebody who's pessimistic, you have a dearth of negative thoughts. So naturally pessimistic is probably applying to my statement about being realistic. Instead of me saying things are going to be just fine and we're going to go back to normal, normal, right? Saying something will be different kind of allows you not to like dream and say it's going to be wonderful, but you can actually connect to that reality wise. I know things are going to be different. We're already seeing difference. I can't go to the grocery store without a mask. I know what different looks like. So connecting that way, it's more realistic without getting too much into optimism and Pollyannaism, as we call it, where you just, everything's wonderful, we're going to be just fine. So I hope that answers a question. I'm sorry, not your question, your friend's question. Okay. So self-sabotage. My God, I don't know if I have enough time for that. That's on like a separate session. Self-sabotage is fear of failure. Nice and easy. It is easier to say, I suck, I'm never going to do it. And then you don't have to start. You don't have to fear. You don't have to be vulnerable. You don't have to feel any negative emotion that could occur from trying something new that you're uncertain of. So some people say, that's too much to deal with, so I'm just going to not try. I'm going to say, this is the reason why I can do it. I'm going to find 15 reasons why I can't do it, and then see. A lot of them make sense, and I no longer have to try and be exposed to that negative feeling. Okay, does that answer that?
Rox, well, I know, okay, so 2 things. One,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll address the last point first, because I know you said you wouldn't have enough time to really go into the self-sabotage subject, and I completely understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. I think that was a good point. Please excuse Oreo, guys. You'll know the drill. 1, 2, Andy was asking not so much about persons who have extreme anxiety, but how do you support people who have extreme anxiety? Because I think right now that's I think I have a good handle on my anxiety. I know what the markers are for myself. I know how it feels. So I kind of talk myself through it to kind of get back to a place where I don't feel so nervous or scared or whatever the case is, right? And where I can function. But for other people who are having a hard time, I don't know that they know how to deal with it. And I find myself doing exactly what you said, which is negative if you do think of it, making it about me in that, hey, I'm experiencing this. I was like, you know what? I'm experiencing this too. Like in my mind, I'm thinking this is me trying to support them, to let them know, like, it's not you alone feeling this. Don't feel so lonely about it. Trying to let them know that, listen, everybody is going through this particular thing, so that you don't have to feel bogged down by it, kind of deal. But you're right. It could come off like, okay, you too, kind of deal. How do you support those persons having such a hard time?
So it's a two-prong. I'm going to do it this way. If you have some knowledge, you as the person with the extreme anxiety, knowing what works for you. So if I know I need a hug, I'm going to preface, if you see me talking like this, or you start to see me just start being agitated, or I start cussing for no reason, it's okay if you give me a hug. So that's really extreme. But what I'm saying is, once you're aware of what helps, I hate the word train, but it is what it is. You're giving people tools and tips to help you so that when you're in that situation and you're not able to properly explain what helps, they kind of already know. So at that moment, some people don't appreciate what can I do to help, because at that moment, in that anxious moment, you may not have an answer. So the second piece of that is just sitting there and holding space. If the person doesn't know yet what works, just sitting there quietly and just letting them be anxious for a moment and offering touch if they're comfortable. I don't know, but just holding space. I find holding space is so devalued at times that it's not offered. So I would not recommend just jumping in and doing something that you feel would help you, because in a way that may not be what they need, and they'll get more agitated because just stop. I don't, and then saying, what's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. Stop. I don't know what's wrong. I wish I could tell you. I don't want to be anxious, that kind of thing. So the two-prong answer is, if they're aware of what works, hopefully sharing that with other people so that they can assist them when they're not able to remember that. And the other side is just holding space. And it says requiring yes, some emotional intelligence is needed, but you also know it works, yes? If I turn on some good music right now, you know that a lot of you will get up and dance. And if that's something that works for you, say, listen, just take me out to dance. I love food. If you say sushi, Thai, something like that, I'm like, wait, what? What was I, what, huh? That kind of thing. It's a momentary distraction, but then it allows for you to start implementing the other things that after. So now that I got your attention, do you want to go get something? Do you want to take a walk? Do you need a hug? And then they're better able to hear you because you've slowed down that. There's a lovely process in our brain that says, you're gonna die, please leave, do something. And if you're in that phase of you're gonna die, who cares about Thai food and who cares about sushi? So you have to kind of interrupt that rapid repeating cycle in their brain enough to then offer other tools. So I wish it were clearer cut than that. I spent quite some time getting to know people's needs, and sometimes they don't even know what they need themselves. So we take time to learn that as well. And then we start sharing that with other people. What really works is this. So if you see me doing this, please I give you permission, even if I grumble, please do this for me because it's helpful. So.
I really appreciate that because, as I said, I struggle with doing, hey, I'm going through this too. So,
and that actually brings me to triggers as well. Triggers means a lot of things. And when I normally do my groups in my job, I tend to do a multiple approach with it, teaching you what your triggers are, what they could lead back to. There are so many triggers. Not feeling safe, not feeling sure, etc., can bring about anxiety. A lot of us are feeling financial, they just don't know financially where we are. We don't know if the health of our family members, there are family members we can't get to right now. And so those are triggers that will bring about more anxiety, and just even being aware that talking about those things may elevate me a little bit. So I may need to do it in a space that's a little bit more safe. Common everyday situations, that may not be the space. As you're talking to your coworker on a Zoom chat, that may not be the space, because you know that you may be triggered enough to the point where you can't function again.
Okay. All right. That was helpful. I could definitely say it was helpful for me. You guys, at any given point, if you have a question or a comment to make, please utilize the raise hand option. I didn't expect Rox to be here for more than an hour, although she can stay and join the conversation after.
Yes.
You know, if you do have questions with regards to anything that she said so far, please feel free to just put your hands up and let's get the conversation rolling on that. Until I see some hands, let me just let Rox know you had the question, and yeah, it's also asked in the chat. Courtney, yes. Whether or not we have access to mental health support, okay, services that are free. We do, the government does have, and they've decentralized, or the Ministry of Health rather, has decentralized units. I know of a couple units, namely one in Barataria, that currently does mental health sessions. I had an aunt last year who had a nervous breakdown, and she actually got sessions and stuff from this particular unit in Barataria. Also, for a lot of people who are generally employed, especially in the private sector, would have health insurance. With that health insurance, many of us would have employee assistance programs, so EAP. Our EAP is, okay, Kuni. Our EAP is pretty easy to get to. At this point, what they would have done, we would have sent out to our staff. They are currently doing one-on-one sessions with masks, of course, if you want to, or you can do telephone sessions. I haven't been able to, okay, Max, so what I find, I will send it to you. I haven't been able to find anything for children, just mainly because my son also has anxiety, and I don't have any available options right now where I am willing to allow him to go outside to see someone, right? There is a program at his school, and he was actually enrolled to enter in this term, but COVID. So, you know, it's something that I'm looking at, and I guess we'll see how that goes. But we do have programs available. I think the main thing is that we don't have education about those programs, kind of to let people know how you can access them, that kind of thing. And I think the ministry definitely needs to do a lot more work in terms of making those services visible for people, because the reality is that at any one point you are hearing so many instances of people needing mental health care. I had a friend last year who was helping someone who was suicidal. I've known a few people who've had serious mental health issues over the last year, including a psychosomatic episode. So, you know, it is there, it is present, but we're just not talking about it for some reason. I don't know why. So I think maybe with the advent of COVID, maybe not advent is the proper word, but with this entire thing happening, it really put the spotlight on a lot of different issues that people are having, that people are just, you know, continuing living their lives kind of under the mask of these particular issues. And now it's really put a spotlight on them where people have to try to deal with them. So I really appreciate you being able to give some thoughts here. Yaisa has a question.
Well, First, Roxanne, the stuff that you said was really fantastic. The two that really stuck with me was the savoring, which I'm also trying my best to do. So I have my one glass of wine because we're also trying to have things in moderation in the house and not just drink because we don't have to get up early. So one glass of wine, one piece of cheese, and to really try to save ourselves in doing that, and also giving ourselves grace sometimes, you know. When things get overwhelming, I can tend to be hard on myself. Like, I actually have it good. I have no reason to complain. So just give yourself grace sometimes when things are rough. But the question that I wanted to ask was, what is it like in Trinidad right now? So my family are quite religious. I am not. And I feel like sometimes when people express problems with anxiety or mental health, the response very often within my family is to pray about it, right? Just pray, just ask Jesus to help. And I tend to just hold my tongue because I'm not religious and I don't want to rub people the wrong way. But I was just wondering, what is the feeling right now in the Caribbean, in Trinidad specifically, because a lot of people are Trinidadian in here, or the wider Caribbean. What is the feeling now with what's happening? Is there more space and grace for mental health issues, for anxiety now? Or is it still the, you know, if someone has mental health issues, they're mad, you know, or is it spirit? Or just pray about it? Is it changing, you guys think?
I think it may be changing in some circles. With more education, a lot of people are more aware of things and more willing to, you know, be open and to. Maggie is right. It would depend on what group you look at, right? It appears that the more people who are knowing or experiencing things with mental health care tend to be people who might be more educated, if that sounds okay to say, because there's an awareness there. But then there are a lot of people here who are just saying, yeah, they're mad. Or, well, I'm to she, why is she getting on so? Or she's a scaredy cat. Or, you know, there's so many different Caribbean isms when it comes to that particular type of situation. So I can't say what the total country is feeling like. I can tell you from, like, for instance, this group, what we've experienced so far is a lot of people who have been reading and are aware of what's going on and have, to me, what is a healthy amount of fear. May not be fear necessarily, but, you know, exhibiting the right precaution, you know, staying at home, doing the right things, in order to not have to go through any stress at a later time. You do find that there are a lot of people, I think some of our fear, honestly, is currently superseded by our political affiliations. So even if it is you're supposed to be scared about something, regardless of how much you read about it, you're like, nah, these people say it's not that, so I don't believe that, and open up the bars. Or, you know, why we can't do whatever. You know how that goes. Hey, so I can't say for everybody. I do know that my thing is, let me stay home and try my best to cope with it as best as I can. If I go into the office, I'm just by myself, keep my door closed, do what I have to do, Lysol down everything so much so I could barely breathe in the damn office, and then I up and leave, kind of thing. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or comments to make based on Roxanne's talk?
You actually brought up two things that I wanted to address that I didn't get. What is not mentioned is that my training means that I could work with anybody from 5 until senior. I'm by trade a marriage and family therapist. So what do you look for in children? Children don't have the vocabulary to say, I'm scared about, or I'm anxious about. What you may see is some of them cling to you a little bit more. If you have someone who is normally like 10 minutes and leave you alone kind of thing, you find that they're lingering or they're checking on you. Or if you have someone in your family that leaves out and they're kind of like, are you coming back? What are you doing? And a lot of questions, that kind of thing. It can be aggravating because you just want to kind of leave and come home, but it's their way of trying to put words to what they're experiencing. They're worried, or they don't understand the stuff that's on the TV, and they're going to do it in another way. Some of them may not want to sleep in their bed anymore. I do know some people are like, why are my children in my bed all the time? All of a sudden, they just want to be on me. They want comfort because they have no words to tell you how to fix it. Some of them are standoffish, more so than maybe the average teenager. I know some of the teenagers, Lord, the shaking up Coke can generation, as I call them, the teens, they just are about to psh any minute. They're going to be a little bit more irritable or emotional. There may be tears and they can't tell you why. And it's more so now than normal, because even though they may be very brilliant and intellectually they can understand, emotionally they haven't matured enough yet to kind of grasp what it is going on. To explain to a child you cannot run and greet your friend, to explain to a child that you cannot go over see Bobby because today's Bobby's birthday, or Bobby lost somebody, so let me go hug somebody. I know it's a rough thing. I've had to assist parents in talking to their children about what to say. And there really is no good word, but depending on your relationship with your child, some honesty, some age appropriate honesty is needed. We just need to be a little bit more safe. We just need to take a little bit more precaution right now, if they know what precaution is. And as it may be irritating, again, I say that they're just kind of up under you. Enjoy it. You might need that hug yourself. You might need that extra time with that child yourself. While you're irritated, like, just leave me, man. Why you in my bed, so, right? Maybe this is the time to be like, wow, let me just give you a hug and let me have a moment. And just say, you know what, we're gonna be okay. Now, the other spectrum that I work with are I hate to say the word elderly because they're just very sprightly people in their 70s, but when this first came out, they started saying that they are the most susceptible, and that freaked a lot of people out. Okay, I'm not leaving my house. I know some people who said when it was nice, I'm not opening the window because the air makes me sick. It could be in the air. And you're like, that is not rational, but that's not the time to discuss what's rational or irrational. When you have portrayed something that is going to specifically seek out your age, of course you're going to have thoughts like that. So supporting elder or seniors with multiple health conditions, their presentation is a little different. They have the words and they may not use them. They just may say, I just feel, I start doing a little shoulder thing, or I just feel, I don't know. Or my favorite, my very, very, very Jamaican father, I'm all right. And you're like, that's it? But they're not all right. They're just worried and they don't want to go too much into it because then they're going to work themselves up. So as you're giving yourself grace about how you're feeling, give your children grace, give the seniors a little bit more grace, because even though we've heard that this is not a virus that discriminates, the way that it was portrayed so much earlier is that this is the population it goes after, and it's sticking with them. And speaking to religion, I find a way to use religion as a coping skill. You know how they say pray about it? Specifically, pray now. When you're anxious, take a moment and pray. Quick, what's your Bible verse? Quick, what is your favorite passage in the Quran? Quick, which part of any part of your religious teaching did appeal to you when you first start? And let's recite that. So it is not saying, I don't believe in the doctrine, the dogma that you are presenting. It's, what's a good way? Let me parallel with you. If that works for you, let me be with you with that.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah. And the last thing, semantics. A lot of you talked about stigma, and I'm West Indian. I also work in a predominantly minority area, so they don't believe in mental health. They sneak to come see us as it is. They don't want people knowing. But I find if you, instead of saying I'm anxious, how many people have heard somebody say my nerves bad? Yes, that's good. You know that statement, and it's more accepted, even though it really does mean you're anxious, right? When somebody says, do you get angry? No, I don't get angry, but I get frustrated. Semantics. Certain things are more acceptable with people to get treatment for when you use semantics. So I could stand on a soapbox and say, people, this is good for you, or I can get in the back door, as I say. I like to say, do you have some nerves? Yeah, let's talk about that. What can you do to manage that? Because it's affecting some things. Do you get frustrated a lot? Do you get your frustration out on people a lot? Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I don't come in and say you're angry. I don't talk and say you're depressed. I don't talk in and say this. I have to use other words so that I'm tricking you, in other words, to let me in. Because if I come in the front door, you're going to lock it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the three things.
I just want to read Tahira's question and then allow Maggie to speak.
Okay.
Tahira asks, how do you address a person who is finding comfort in something you feel may negatively affect them long term? Do you address your concerns or let that person, if it helps them manage their anxiety or depression, or should you address it at all?
Yes. I know some of my patients are getting high more frequently. Some are eating things that shouldn't really be in their diet. A lot of us have discovered our love of wine a lot more. I have discovered bottles I didn't know I have, and that was such an exciting moment. You have no idea. Christmas. Anyway, to address something that you feel is detrimental to them, again, is making it about you. So instead, you turn it around and say, I am concerned about your using excessive alcohol about this to manage it. I just want you to let you know I can't stop you, but I am concerned. And that's how you express it. Because if you come at you're an alcoholic, why are you high? Are you still high again? Why are you doing that? Why are you talking to your ex? Those kinds of things that you do that may seem detrimental to you are not about you. That's about them. And you can politely say, I disagree, but you also have to give them the autonomy as a human to manage it. For example, I have a personal thing about weed. I lost family members to it. And if I see someone saying they're smoking quite often, I could say, is that helping? I personally don't do it. Is it helping you? And if after that conversation, they just say, I'm going to continue to do it, I feel like my concerns have been heard and I've shared my concern and they're aware, and then they can move on with it. I cannot stop someone from doing something, but I can share my discomfort. And then that really relieves my anxiety about it too, because guess what? If you don't say something, it's going to come out in other ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Maggie.
Thanks. Two things. Thanks for that about the kids, specifically the wanting to sleep, because I've been getting that request very often, and I've kind of not linked it to this, obviously. I am familiar and have experience with having to deal with anxiety with my son. So, but I just never linked that wanting to sleep with me every night, as part of it. So thanks for that. I have a general question though, not specifically linked to COVID. In my office, I have employees under me, and it's clear there are one or two that struggle with anxiety and certain things they're managing on their personal life. And as a supervisor, someone over them, they sometimes come to you to have a conversation. And I don't try to be a professional, so I understand where my limitations are in listening and giving advice, but also understanding that maybe they need someone more professional, to help them through, because we've had instances where they literally physically shut down in the office, like they're at their desk and you can see they're struggling. You're seeing the physical anxiety. One particular person hates crying. They find it's a weakness. So even getting to that point is like a big thing. Another person seems to be going through mood swings. And I guess from a manager perspective, what kind of advice can you give? Because there's only so much you can do to support, like I said, but how can I have a conversation that guides them in the direction of maybe seeking that professional intervention? Because yeah, there is this block that they may not want to take that step. And I mean, I care. And in all things, you want to see them work through, and it also affects productivity work. So it's like striking that balance of being, you know, understanding the person, but understanding work also has to get done. And that's why I posted in the group to Acacia, I need to find out about the EAP in Trinidad. But, you know, what kind of advice can you give me to manage situations like that? Because, and then now COVID being added on to it.
Yeah.
I had a conversation where the person is like, they're very, you know, they're not looking forward to, you know, things opening back and having to come back to the office, and they're going to barricade themselves into their cubicles. So that conversation has already started to come at me. So, you know.
So it's funny. I'm a supervisor also, so I'm going to say that. And watching someone's performance be affected by something where you just want to say, listen, you might want to get help for that. So come to find out, HR says I'm not allowed to do that. So I'm going to tell you not to do that. What I have found is every once in a while, I ask someone about things such as, what can I do to support you? How does support look to you? And do I have permission to do this when you're experiencing X crisis, right? Again, this is about emotional intelligence. I know I'm asking a lot, but it's a start. I started with, how does support look for you? And letting me come to you was one. Another one was, I just need 10-minute walk. Okay, great. So instead of saying, listen, you're crying at your desk and you hate crying. Hey, do you want to take a walk, 10 minutes, that kind of thing? And they may say no, but you showed support, as opposed to coming at them like, you're crying again, you want tissue, you want a hug. And again, it's similar to what I said when someone else is experiencing extreme anxiety. This is just not COVID related. This is something else that could be so many things: performance anxiety, perfectionism, etc. But the way to do it as a manager is to ask up front, when they're not in crisis, how can I support you? What does that look like? What works? Can we try these things? And then document that you've offered the support. And if it persists, then you can say, listen, we've talked about it. We've met in supervision. This is happening. You know, can I offer you some resources? And if you're not on like the write-up stage, it's more of like an offering. If it gets to the write-up stage, we've actually had to link their performance improvement plan to an EAP kind of visit. My person left before we could implement those strategies, but they did say that knowing that I could give support and they told me what they needed up front was very helpful. I'm sorry, it's very sticky. Like, what I would love to do as a mental health professional is like, girl, you need, you know, or sir, just do this, please, Lord, you're messing us. Look, you're scaring people, like, you know, those kinds of statements. But the higher you go, the more protocol you have to follow. So I will share what was told to me by my HR, and that is to start with the basic stuff and increasing and documenting that we're continuously offering support to them in their performance. And if it becomes even more detrimental, then you recommend the EAP.
Okay, awesome. Well, Jared I think you already spoke about that, or you already touched on that in terms of the stigma or taboo of getting of mental health or getting therapy. And yes, it seems to be lessening a bit, but it still happens. I had that challenge convincing people, hey, you should try this. In our conversation last week, I would have spoken about my situation where after a couple negative experiences, I had to go to therapy, and it really helped me to balance and not feel so scared all the time, and to kind of get back on the horse of being myself, right? Because I wasn't myself. And a lot of times it's sometimes difficult. It's sometimes difficult to be able to explain this to somebody, and let them, and maybe translate to them that, listen, this worked for me, it could probably work for you too, because everybody has. Oh, sorry. Is this better? Okay, great. Sorry. Everybody has a challenge with doing particular things, a reason why they don't want to do certain things. I mean, I certainly didn't care for therapy in any great way, but man, I knew I was getting it free through EAP, so I was like, yo, let me go deal with this thing, because I also hate feeling scared. I hate feeling the anxiety. So my personal coping mechanism is, because I hate feeling it, I need to get rid of it immediately. And so I will do whatever it takes to talk myself out of it. Sometimes it's not necessarily a healthy coping mechanism, right? I may not be dealing with whatever the issue is at the time. Granted, I don't really smoke, I don't really drink, etc. But I work with what I can work with. But it's been difficult, really, really difficult to convince people who I because you can clearly see it in some people, right? Because you're going through it. EAP is Employee Assistance Program. Sorry, Rach. Yeah, so you can see people going through it, and you're trying to tell them, hey, this worked for me, you could try this too. But it's like when babies, when they're eating something they're not supposed to eat, and you're like, open your mouth, let me take it out, and that's when they suddenly have the strongest jaw on the face of the earth. It's like that. It's trying to deal with somebody who has a bit of stubbornness, or the overall, I guess, the anxiety itself is crippling them. Just to answer some of the questions here. Yeah, EAP is Employee Assistance Program. My company uses Elders and Associates. Elders pretty much is open as far as I know. Yes, you can go to different ones. If you don't like a particular therapist, you can choose another one. Yeah, almost every company in TNT. The previous one I did was Petrotrin Workers Association, I believe, and had a nice little lady, Michelle, and she sought me out right and proper. So there are companies in Trinidad and Tobago who do it. We just have to find the avenues. If you don't know, ask somebody. Is there anyone else who has a question or comment that they would like Roxanne to discuss or touch on?
I do have a soapbox moment. I promise I'll get off very shortly. As far as the stigma of mental health. So what I've done is I'm transparent. I talk to people and say, do you want to be better? Do you like your life right now? Yeah, how's that going? Everybody's heard the same. How's that going for you, right? Of course, I know who to be sarcastic with and who not to be. So I've been transparent, as if a therapist can need a therapist, then there's that. I also explain some of the issues that either I have worked on in therapy or I've seen in therapy, because there's this mysticism to therapy that's that thing you go lay on the couch and you talk about your mother. Okay, and actually all the therapists I supervise, we don't have a couch. Frankly, we're more concerned about our comfort than you laying down, yeah? And we use so many different types of therapy. And so knowing that you don't have to be extremely, I hate to use the word crazy, but crazy to go and seek some assistance lessens the stigma. So if any of you have ever had therapy yourself, I know that sometimes you keep it to yourself because you just don't want people in your business, but just kind of normalizing the fact that we all need help. Some of you seek the pastor, the minister, the whomever. Some of you seek your good friend. Some of us seek a therapist. And it doesn't have to mean that you are less than or especially males, my God, it doesn't mean you're less of a man because you had to go talk to somebody. Maybe that was the only person who was safe enough for you to let that down. Yeah. So I'm on my soapbox a lot because I've seen violence come of people who didn't get therapy and they just really needed someone to talk to, and that was the only way they knew how to get it out, was to lash out. I've seen relationships severed because they waited to the last point. So I'm transparent. That's how I try to fight the mental health stigma, is I say, I have a therapist. I've been through these things. I couldn't quite get over this relationship. I couldn't quite get over this loss, and it was okay. I'm a regular person. I'm not diagnosed with anything, and regular people get therapy. So I needed to say that, not because I'm looking for customers, but when we come out of this, I'm very scared. And I'm being totally 100. I'm very scared for the fact that there's such a stigma that people are going to be walking around having been affected and not getting the help. And that's not going to help us, because damaged people damage others. So, off soapbox.
Go ahead, Tahira.
So good evening, everyone. So here's my question. So I was the same thing with you, Roxanne. Like, I was going through a lot of anxiety myself. You know, I have an adult child, and I noticed a number of, like, my son, he doesn't live with me anymore. He's been texting and he's been calling more often. And because I was going through my own anxiety, trying to just make sure that I'm here managing like my own stress, I didn't recognize that his, I would say his actions were changing in the form of communication. Then it hit me one day that all of a sudden, like, why is he? Then I had to call him. I said, you know, are you okay? I had to ask that question. So my thing is, how do you create a balance? Like, you know, making sure that you're having your own self-care, but also making sure that you recognize, like, those around you, your family members, making sure that they are okay as well, and, like, of course, not blocking out the, you know, their needs and, you know, what they require in order for them to heal as well, especially being a parent.
Yes. How do you, so generally speaking, not just parenting, is how do you implement good boundaries in this period so that you are not inundated by a lot of negative energy, and then the increased need for comfort and support by people around you. So here's the emotional intelligence again. Here it is. Knowing what your limit is. Yeah. If you know that you can talk for about 20 minutes before you get a little too much, then say, hey, listen, I'm going to check in for 20 minutes or 15 so that they have time to say something else. And then I'm going to check in. And then, you know what, if we need to add some more time tomorrow or later this week, or I'm going to send you this great article I read. That's my way of connecting with you to show you support. This is what I'm capable right now. Extending yourself, feeling like you can help everyone is going to burn you out quickly. And then you're doing more harm to the person who reaches out. Or you may shut down to where no one can reach you. And then they're in a situation. If I don't talk to my mother, she's calling the police. So therefore, I have to figure out what works for me to get me together and how to support her, especially someone who doesn't live with you, as you said, to hear your child is not with you. So you can't eyeball them and know it's okay. You're trying to be supportive by proxy, by cell phone, by video, or whatever. So recognizing, I call it bandwidth. I think that's an easy word to remember. You know your bandwidth, and anything above that is not good. So, and then also being honest. I don't know if we're honest enough with people to say, listen, it's not a good day. I would love to support you. I want to be there, but today's just not a good day. Is it okay that I call you a little later? Or I can do 5 minutes. Can I check in with you? Is it okay? That kind of thing. And being honest, because that's bringing about the dialogue. Oh my gosh, I was calling you about something I was feeling, but you're experiencing it too. Okay, let's see what we can manage. The dynamic is a little different to hear with your son and you, because you're in the adult subsystem and he's in the child subsystem. So of course there's certain things that are a little different, but I think being an adult child, you can say, listen, son, you know, mommy got stuff too, you know, like I gotta Give me 10 minutes. Let me get it together. Can you send me a text? Can we set up a time where we can check in? And that way you can go do your exercise, you can go do your incense, you can get ready for that moment because that's your time that you set apart for them. And then you do your recovery after if it's a little heavier than normal. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, but you don't know Paris.
Yes.
Yeah, the world wraps around that person. But yeah, I get it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, well, we're no longer friends, but I did have someone that's like that, and it was just like me. And I just said, listen, I hit my bandwidth. Let me check you. I gotta go. I gotta go. And just, that's it. Anybody else?
That is like super right, Roxanne. You know, sometimes you yourself don't, like, you don't want to say to someone, listen, you're kind of heavy today and I don't want to have to deal with this heaviness. I guess sometimes you do have to choose you, because you're going through stuff too. But I think for the most part, I try to have a handle on that anyway. Luckily, my friendships are generally with people who I can share with at any given time and let them know, listen, I'm feeling a little low today, or I'm feeling down today, or not there today, or whatever the case is. Or I just do what I generally do and just say like, hey, how you going? Rather than talk about myself. So anybody else would like to ask or add to the conversation? I don't know what's going on with you all these days with these quiet moments. Are you all thinking? What's going on? Lyle, I didn't hear from you. That's kind of strange.
Have I rendered people speechless?
Maybe it appears.
Must you put me on the spot? You see how I can't please people? When I stay quiet and I reflect and I listen, Lord have mercy. No, I don't have like a specific question. I listened intently when I was in and out of the room, and I'm just trying to pick up on all the traits that I know I'm espousing. I'm a control person, so I'm kind of OCD. So imagine everything that you've just described, right, Roxanne, about dealing with, especially things in COVID. I've been tracking COVID since December. The second week of December, I expected it to come. I calculated the incompetence that is known as the White House, formerly known as the lead in the world. I knew when he broke the CDC. I mean, anybody who's been watching the past 2 years knew that he got to the CDC 80% on 80%. Anybody who watches the Pentagon's brief that they give to Congress every year on the global threat risks, why am I watching that in the office, Roxanne? Clearly I have problems, right? There's no need for me to look at this, but I do every year. And like I was expecting this thing coming. I've actually been home now for about 9 weeks, 8 weeks, 7 weeks. I've lost count. I have no idea anymore. Every day is Blues Day, so I have no idea. Every day is Blues Day. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I was just kind of like really trying to reflect deeply on things that I'm doing to cope that perhaps I'm not aware of. I don't think I espouse the masculine traits of I'm a man and therefore I'm not. I'm very cool with, self. I know I have a problem with spending and I need to stop, but I can't because it's a coping mechanism. And carbs, well, girl, you have no idea how you hit the nail on the head. You have absolutely no idea how you hit the nail on the head. So the reason you haven't heard from me is because I'm just listening. I'm just listening. I've not ever run from therapy. I actually had therapy when I was 16. And it was some of the most life-changing stuff I ever did. I think I actually did a relationship therapy with an ex some time ago. Keyword Roxanne, she's an ex, so I didn't work out.
That wasn't me.
Yes. I don't think it would have mattered. Spray it out. I don't think it would have mattered. I as the 6'6" male in the group tonight, as the biggest dude in here tonight, I strongly support everything you've said, both as a professional but and as a human. Because you said a lot of human stuff tonight that I'm not too sure, some people it may register on them when they lay down tonight and like have a moment to reflect, which is dope. Do that because there's some real truths in here. I think my only thing is, I can't ask you how to cope with it because I don't think there is a way to cope with it. You give me a nice tactic, but it still exists and I know it exists, so I get in my head. I'm an overthinker. Yeah, I'm the group's overthinker, by the way. Everybody here has laughed at my ability to overthink things.
Yes.
But one of the things that I've noticed in this, what I've hypothesized is the age of misinformation. So we went from the industrial age to the information age. We're now in the misinformation age. I've seen good people. I'm talking about like today, I'm dealing with a guy who I'm in DJ stuff with in the States. Up until last week, he was sane. And as of today, he's gone into tinfoil hat territory. So it is, and I'm reading his post and I'm responding to him. And he's like, well, you could believe what you want. You know, I'm not going to believe the media because, of course, we do the media thing now when we're doing tinfoil hats. But I'm like, well, you know, you could ask a doctor, a nurse, a virologist. I just happen to know one. Hey, Isa, shout out. A few epidemiologists.
Yeah, Isa is a
Help her, you know,
neuroscientist.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
she's super
we're
smart.
Overthinkers
Okay,
Anonymous.
Sorry, Isa. I know somebody who's like super smart. Duh, all right, cool, fine. So I'm throwing this out to him because I'm not trying to be confrontational. I'm not trying to make this about I know more than you or vice versa. Because I'm genuinely concerned. This dude was good people as of 48 hours ago. And I'm saying, okay, is this what I now have to cope with? Which is out of a very human fear, Roxanne. People are going to turn even further to self-reinforcing truths, even further to misinformation once it comforts and calms them. So they know the government's against us. They know PAHO is against us. They know the WHO is lying. Fauci just wants to put a microchip in everybody's arm. You know, it's like, I mean, kind of tinfoil hat stuff that I'm like, okay, people, really. Bill Gates been out for us from day one. He been plotting this since Windows, right? And he got us right where he wants us. This pandemic is that for me, as I said, I'm putting it out. So I'm sure you're going to give me, you know, a great idea, but I'm telling you it's just too much of it. So there's no way I could deal with it. I literally just unfriended him on Facebook. I forgot he's in an Instagram group chat that I'm in. So I saw his name again. I was like, okay, Trigger, I can't really get rid of you here, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. Thanks for the time for sure. Yeah, you have no idea, like none.
You did the right thing. You do not argue with delusion.
Nah. You hear that, right, Chef? Where you inside of here, right, Chef? Not
Listen,
saying
I've met Jesus Christ 3 times as patient, and I say, nice to meet you, Jesus Christ. You do not say you don't, you're not. So the best thing you did was to unfriend him, because trying to have a conversation while he's in fear, he's not going to be rational.
No, I wasn't trying to troll. I wasn't trying to troll at all.
Don't do that at all. Don't give him the science. Don't give him facts, because he's left facts. And you have to, sometimes you just got to let people float.
I mean,
someone
it's like
posted about when you go back to work.
Yes. Jared wanted to know, what about transitioning from quarantine? What strategies can we use to readjust?
So transitioning is a very, very good word of mine. Transitions should be acknowledged always. Preparing yourself, acknowledging, do you do well with change? Are you a rapid fire change person? You kind of say, this is what we're doing, give me the steps and I'm going to do it. Or are you someone who needs time to adjust? Based on who you are, that's when you start to transition your mind first, or I don't know how else to say it, yourself, your family, however, that kind of thing. For example, I'll be back to work very shortly because I can't deal with acute people via video. So you can say, well, this is what I will do. This is how I will check in with my family. This is that kind of thing. What will work for me? And then come up with multiple permutations of your plan and put it into place. And then the last thing that we absolutely need to hold on to is, you do not have all certainty about what will or will not work. Being willing to just adjust and say, oh, that didn't work, let me try something else. It's a very real fear to know that there's something out there that's in the air and you can't escape that. But to say, I will do my absolute best at precautionary measures, I will social distance, I will wear my mask, I will do my best at work, and I will hope for the best, is the best way to do it, as opposed to, oh God, it's going to get me if I leave out my door. Yeah. If you have oh gosh, I forgot I work in a mental health clinic. Sorry, I take that back. I was about to say, if you work with people like me, they're very understanding and they're going to check in on you. Let me not promise you that. Okay. Check in with your boss, check in with your peers. If we ever get back to a place where we're in the building, sharing that with you, because you're probably going to feel it more than you see it. People are going to be in your face, hi, 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 because they're also experiencing it themselves. And so you may be okay, but they may be someone who needed a little bit more time to adjust. And again, giving, what's that big word, grace to your coworkers, the masks and things like that. I hate to say the new normal, we don't know what that is, but acknowledging the space in between is huge. And just saying, if you are big 4 letters, write a letter to the world that you're in right now, write a letter to your fear, write a letter to the world that you'd like to have, whatever you need to do to get it out. Because if it doesn't get out, it's going to come out in other ways. I don't know if I answered the question well, Gerard, but that's my take. Yes, fear of the uncertainty is a human thing. We don't know for sure of anything, and you focus on what you do know for sure, what you can control, your environment, your immediate environment. And that's the best that you can do, that you know. And that's what you control. If you try to control things that are not in your hand, it'll cause more anxiety because it'll be readily available that you can't control it. So.
Yeah, Isa, I know you put your hand down, but I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to ask.
I'm good.
Yes. Okay. Anybody else has any questions? If they want to type it into the bar, or if they want to speak it, that'd be great. It's now 10:08, Roxanne, so you're officially off the clock. You can be part of the conversation if you wish. If no one else has a discussion on mental health, I know that you are, as we mentioned before, savoring the information that you just got, because, you know, I think a few of us may realize, whoa, I'm actually experiencing some anxiety. I didn't realize that that's what it was. Or here is a way for me to stop doing whatever, or here's a way I can help my friends. So if it is you have any other concerns, anything like that, I'd be in touch with Roxanne. And if you have any other questions, I can always ask her and bring it to you guys at the next session on Friday, if you guys want to.
Casual Fridays.
Yes, well, y'all know Fridays are casual Fridays.
Casual Fridays at the club.
Casual Fridays at the club. It's been fun so far. So of course I'm looking forward to seeing you guys for Casual Fridays. But Rich, go ahead.
Rox, thanks so much. It's very interesting because maybe about anyway, it doesn't matter when. The point is that, you know, I have a very, excuse me, I hope it's not offensive to anyone, but a very regular cycle, right? And at the beginning of this, I was astounded when my cycle came a week early, like 7 days on the dot, which put me at 21 days, which was very bizarre. I mean, it doesn't happen. And, you know, I spoke to my mom about it. I engaged Kathy in a conversation about it. And, you know, the question was, you know, are you anxious? Are you worried? Are you concerned? And me personally, I was like, no, I feel like I am doing the research very similar to Lyle. That's how you say it, huh? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very similar to Lyle, like following it for quite a while. And I think it was really the way, my mother just has a way of how she expresses her care and concern that did make me step back and say, okay, well, maybe this is not the time to be necessarily pushing back against that. I might have some anxiety about what's happening, or concerns, or whatever, you know, euphemism is to be used. And the other thing for sure for me is, like, I'm a very, very vivid dreamer, like very vivid, as has been the case since I was 7 years old, and or since I know myself to dream. And it's a couple things that's been happening, which is that I I can barely go to bed before 3. That doesn't, and it doesn't feel worrisome. That's not like I'm not up worrying. It's just my body. If I lie down in the bed at midnight, it's just like literally wrapping against me, like, what are you doing? So I turn something on, usually something with levity. And then once I do fall asleep, it tends to be like this blackness until, which is not usual. And then right before I wake up, that's when like I'm a superhero jumping off buildings, save insurance. That happens, right? So this conversation is really useful to me because it's just helping me understand that while I am always the first to say to people like, you know, have you thought about speaking with a mental health expert? Have you thought about speaking to a professional for other tools and resources and so on? I can certainly recognize that I was pushing back. No, I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. That's not the case. I'm not feeling any anxiety. But like you said, the body is just, I'm just latching onto a number of things that, you know, that you have said where I'm like, okay, I'm concerned. You know, I am, the anxiety is showing up in ways that in general, I'm like, well, why is that happening? That's strange, but not necessarily taking it on. So this idea of your statement earlier to say, I am bothered, to say to self, like, I am bothered, and to acknowledge that. And that's not an indication of weakness, but an indication of just acknowledging what you are feeling is really, really helpful. So I've written down a number of the things that you said and just sort of like take that on. And if it feels like it's closing in any further, so I'm certainly encouraged to like seek professional help, which which, you know, now there's so many services that are offering telehealth and numbers you can call, and, you know, all these wonderful resources that have opened up to people be able to call in. And so just thank you for being in the space and saying, just be aware that these differences, it's not necessarily that you need to be scared of them, and certainly that I should not ignore them, you know, but acknowledge them and see what I need to do. Like that savor conversation is definitely something that I'm going to, like, I'm latching on to that, because savoring just slows you down. And, you know, if you don't like taking deep breaths, you do it when you savor, you know? So I just wanted to kind of point out the things that really impacted me and allowed me to say, okay, these things that have happened are indications from my body and mind that I am impacted more than I think. Mm-hmm. And a conversation like this helps me with tools and resources. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. I see a hand. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, we started doing it old school. So something just ran across my mind when Rachel was talking, right? There's like a whole forgotten class of people. Every time things are good in the world, we celebrate, and we celebrate with them, the musicians, the dancers, the playwrights, the actors, actresses. And then every time we have stuff like this, they just kind of fall off. And one of the things I was made acutely aware of because of this group is my state of employment is pretty good. Like as much as I would like shit on it and throw it in a bucket and burn it with all my clothes, it's really actually pretty good. I'm not in a conversation right now about, well, take a 15% pay cut, which is bad enough, or I'm not in any other conversation. But then, like Rachel said a gazillion hours ago, what about people who depend on this for their livelihood? So I've been a DJ my whole life. Not really, because I was born before I was a DJ, so that's clearly exaggeration. But I've been a DJ for most of my life. And one of the crutches I always had is there was always corporate Lyle, who was different from DJ Carmen. So I used to get to go on radio, live this life, whatever's the case, fly on planes, play with Clark Kent in New Jersey, and come home and be Lyle. How do I deal with friends of mine who may not even know, you know, where things are? Because like one of the things I've seen you pointed out is, don't make this about you. It's something I've been cognizant of for a while, and like I've been working really hard on doing two things: not cutting off people like Kanye West, and not making things about me, like bringing yourself to be the subject of the sentence. And I guess at least being aware of it is a start, Roxanne. So I'm not good at it, but it takes work. But how do I do that beyond just reaching out? Hey, are you okay? because like I get that, like what you were telling Maggie about the HR stuff. My MBA is in HR, so like I was listening to you, and right before you said it, I was like, yeah, you can't do that. You kind of just need to be like, hey, like my staff under me, we have like a golden rule. I don't know where they live, how old they are, if they have kids or a wife. Like if you want to share that stuff, it's great. If you don't want to, no business. We on this work thing. But as humans, we have a very deep relationship in work. You know what I mean? But how do I reach out to random person X? I have friends right now who are artists, singers, DJs, and I'm not too sure they're good. And I hear stuff like what Jared was saying in the chat, where it's like, well, yeah, when things get back to normal, like in a month, I'm like, should I say, hey, person X, that's not, it's going to be 6 months or so to a year before we get to any sense of normalcy. And what? Yes, Canella. Sorry, I don't sell dreams. Don't look up now like you feel like I read your chat. I don't sell dreams, Canella. I do not sell dreams. Right? So yeah, how do I do that without causing people themselves have a full mental break, which is also what I'm not trying to achieve, obviously. You know what I mean? Because I'm worried. 6 months to a year, Jared, at minimum. Please keep in mind it takes 10 years sometimes to make a vaccine. And in all fairness, with smart people like Yaisa and smarter people than Yaisa and the thing, we might get a vaccine like 2 years. And if we're trying to, you know, avoid World War Z or Resident Evil or no, Roxanne, you're laughing at me, but I mean, like, Hollywood is precursor thing, right?
True, it's true.
Let me be real, because Resident Evil and World War Z was the same thing. They had some disease that touched the world. They was like, okay, we gotta get a vaccine. I don't know if Donald Trump was the president in that movie too. And then boom, shot the incompetence, you know, yes, Daryl Foil hat on full effect. Incompetence brought us the vaccine that gave us the zombies. Dudes was dying and then beating up in the street and then running behind you to buy chairs. Like, yo, what's going on here? So here we are now in a movie. This is a movie. This is what we are. This is insane. Back to my question. No, then herd immunity is another fast because the virus done mutate already. We done talking about the mutation already. There's now the hypercontagious version.
Yes.
Help me again between Chef and Yaisa. It's an RNA virus. It's not a DNA virus. So it doesn't come pre-programmed with its own DNA, which means it's more prone to mutation.
Yes.
In other words, Jared, we were supposed to, you see what I did, Roxanne? It's all about trying to control my reality, right? Just learn too much. Learn too much, right? Yeah, Jared. So if we were able to like lock it down early off, we probably might have catch it before it starts to mutate. Too late. Donald Trump is still president. Sip, Yaisa, sip, so it goes. So back to my question. It's a big glass too, Gil. You have coping skills. You've been listening to Rock. Don't blame Roxanne for that glass, eh? Whatever you say, I believe you. Yeah, Roxanne. So back to my core question before all these people sidebar me, right?
So
I
I can't give you a blanket answer because I don't know them individually, but you do. Who can you say how you know, hey, this is how I am feeling. I'm not, it was a rough day yesterday. You know, you crossed my mind. Let me check on you. Hey, how are you? Right? You know who are at the point where if you blow on them, it'll be everything. And you know the other people who can endure a little conversation before they have to cut out. Where you start is being okay with their response if they say, I can't talk right now. Or if you say, how are you doing? And they say, fine, and they leave it at that and you wanted more. It's okay, because maybe they're just not ready. They're just not ready yet. So you have certain people you can kind of send how you doing memes, maybe not the actual conversation, a picture, a song. This song made me think of something. Hey, remember that time and I thought of you. I just wanted to say hi and don't need much. Just want to say hi. And then pause, ellipses, let them do what they want to do. If they're ready to share, that is their prerogative. If they're not, it's okay. All right, cool, thanks. You know, I'll check in later. And you let them guide where it is. So start the process based on what you know of them as a person, how much they can handle a little bit, and then go from there. I sent out letters to people because that's what I can manage. And that's why I did it. And like they open it, they're like, oh my God, I have a card that's not a bill. For others, I send them funny things. And for others, they like animals. And so I send them crazy videos all the time of animals with human voices. Know your audience. and go from there. And again, please, it's okay if they're not ready to open up or if they don't pick you as the person that they want
They want to open too.
to emote to. Yes.
That was actually pretty dope on the cards too. I'm a smart guy. Didn't see that one coming. That was pretty dope. I could see that. What is this? I mean, it counts. Like I have every card my son ever gave me since he gave me cards, and things that kind of count too. Yeah.
Yes. Someone posted about just supporting them. If you follow me on social media, you'll know who I'm supporting this week. Last week I did coffee. The week before that I did tea. Little things like bigging them up, knowing if they're okay, well, if they're comfortable, of course. Bigging them up that way, saying this is how I'm supporting you because I know times are hard. Rachel, my hip is still like, what are you doing from last Saturday? Yeah. But, you know, I'm going to keep coming back because it was good. So those are the things that you can support them. Sometimes not even saying something supportive, just holding space. I know you are a DJ. Listen to my man's session on Friday nights, whatever. I know you sell this. Hey, I know so-and-so, she's selling this. Please give her a shout or that kind of thing. Sometimes that's a way to ease the anxiety and they'll appreciate it. And maybe at that point, they'll start opening up to you. Again, I never use the front door. I always come in the back gate.
Okay, I like the analogy. I have one more question, seeing everybody else playing bashful in the chat. How do we deal with dependency? And I say this because as much as like we've all joked about this on Facebook for the past 2 days, not having this meeting last night, at least like for me, I planned to not have the meeting because I'm the guy who did the scheduling for the meetings, right? Yeah. It was kind of in the back of my mind, but then like 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, okay, usually I'm now in the room, getting the AC fired up, this, that, the third, whatever is the case. And I think I actually posted about it on Facebook 5 minutes after I realized Courtney posted about it and Andy posted something about it. Hey, it's all love it. We've actually figured out a really nice social thing that we have going on here. This is now expanded into a club on Sundays. Yes, a virtual club. Play a little music, do a little vibe, do a little dance. It's actually quite dope. So how does it work when we take this away? Because one day I'm not gonna see Isa one day. And they're gonna be busy.
Why are we taking this away?
That's the question I was asking everybody, because Acacia said that and she just being mean because she's the Minister of National Security. But I don't think we need to take this away. What am I supposed to do? It's 8 o'clock. What do I do? Yeah. He was like losing his board.
Kindly allow me. Kindly allow me.
Oh, good, she hear me.
Defend myself. I don't want to take it away. I do love the platform, and as I said, there are a lot more things that I would like to do with it, so that it's not just, hey, let's all get together and chat. You know, the purpose was, you know, really to drive a particular type of initiative. But I have seen the value in us all having an outlet, right? To talk, to listen, to even find commonalities. And I keep going back to the conversation about mental health that we had, because that conversation just evolved into that day where we were talking about, you know, feeling anxious when we had to go out to the groceries, looking at how irresponsible and ridiculous people were like outside or whatever. And we kind of all realized that, yo, we all facing some sort of challenge with this, right? We know we are all facing it, but it's never really verbalized. Like nobody is saying, I am having a problem, hey, or I am having a problem there. And so it's just been a matter of, you know, let's get together. We're chatting about whatever, and I mean, it's been helpful to me. I know it's been helpful to you guys. From what I see so far, from what you guys have been seeing. Kunala is saying this is the most adult conversation I have in a day. She's a teacher, or she hears the children doing, you know, saying random stuff, and worse now, I can see it. Like my son is in class, and he's generally non-responsive to most things unless the teacher asks him something. But then I listen to the other kids, and I hear the teacher saying every 2 minutes, Kai, mute your mic. So I can't see you. So where are you? Somebody mute your mic. And so it goes for the 45 minutes of the class, right? In between the lessons, of course. So I know that it's a reprieve in her case. So all that to say that I do not plan to end it, guys.
Yeah.
Relax, Linda.
Yeah.
But I do plan to switch up some of the things that we do. Um,
Eve on
the
one.
Eva is
Eva on one.
on one. Um, the introduction of the games night, I do find that to be quite fun.
Yeah.
Last week was our first one, and it was kicks to say the least. You know, grown adults, all of us playing boy, girl, animal, place thing. TV show, total. Let me just finish it off. Pictionary, taboo, etc.
Yeah, it was dope, Daryl. It was
Yeah,
dope.
yeah, Daryl. We did that last week, Saturday, and it was hella fun. Like I had a lot of fun doing it.
It was dope.
On Friday night we had a relaxed night. So we talk about relationships, who do her game.
That would just be me, by the way, everybody.
The
That's just me
50
alone.
the
I have no
51
game.
men who suiting you and the next one and whatever.
That would
You
also
know,
be me. No
that would
game.
also be like so I mean I recognize that there's a lot that we have there are ways for us all to manage what we're feeling, and I know loneliness is a big one. I am generally by myself, so it generally isn't a bother to me, but there is a difference within. I think we compared it. I think the prime minister said it at some point. He's like, "Oh, they always asking to stay home, but now all they getting to stay home and all they quarreling, or they want to go, or they want to go to work." Right? It's the same thing. I'm always by myself, but not that I have to be by myself. I'm like, yo,
You want to
can
go for
somebody
primer?
call me? Like,
He wants to go for primer any hardware.
guy, we do like I'm out here going to hardware to get primer. I out here picking up red mango from a girlfriend, like, you know what I mean? So I and shopping for tiles, absolutely, that's what I did.
Oh, Cassie, my neighbors make red mango. You go have to get a sample apparently.
I
No, I'm
find
telling
even
you.
red mango. I'll let you know.
I don't
But
know. One way to find out, girl. One way to find out.
I'll let you know.
All right.
Yeah,
You
so
don't eat mango.
I can appreciate that this forum has been helpful to people, and I'm really glad to have been part and parcel of it for you guys. I'm gonna mute my mic now because Eva is acting a role tonight. And please, if there's anybody else who has anything else to say at all, chime in. If you all are still ruminating on the mental health conversation and you all want to switch to something else, as we usually do, because I think this is the longest we've spent on one particular subject.
One topic. Yes.
Usually we kind of by now we cover like 4 things, right?
We bright.
That, and we can't focus on one subject at a time.
Okay.
But I'll take bright. So if there's anything else you guys wish to join in on, please let me know. Also, I ain't seeing Kosi. I think he probably got kicked off or something, or something. But we do have some US people in the house. I'm pretty sure you guys have questions on how they're managing over there. I'm sure the US people want to know, well, what y'all doing in Trinidad, because y'all know us and how ridiculous we are as a people, and it's been a challenge managing our ridiculousness so far. So please raise of hands, and let's keep the conversation going. It's only 10:30, guys. Come on. Today would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Roxanne, you didn't give me an answer though. I mean, I know we in theory don't have to end, but every good TV show has its final season. And I am saying that even if we wean ourselves down to once a week, when that final season comes, it's gonna be like the last episode of Friends. They're gonna be like tears and shit. And like totally, if we can't like close off Zoom and then all convene my Crystal's house for her punch creme, then yeah, Crystal, your punch creme. Not do it, then it's not gonna work out. And by then we had to be able to lay Isa back in the country and Nkosi, and because we needed like, yeah, oh, there you go, right? Because it's weird. Much like Cassie, I live alone. I do everything alone at this point in time in my life. I'm such an outlier for most things. I don't really have people to commune with. And then perhaps I trip and fall into this group, and everybody wasn't like, oh, well, he's talk plenty, but he ain't shipper. He pretty all right. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, this is kind of cool. I don't mind these people. Me, you feel you're gonna get me to play boy girl animal place thing and get me to lose in public? You must be crazy. I didn't even throw nothing. I swear. I did not even have a 10-part tantrum. I'm telling you. I took my loss like a man. So how do we cope? That is not a lie. Well, who is there? Who is saying these things about me? I think I lost it for not boy girl. What was the thing we play after? I'll lose it for that. Pictionary. Yeah, I'll lose it for Pictionary. But that's because Acacia set me up. By the way, Acacia win boy girl, right? So if all you see cronyism and nepotism, no, we dealing with it, Rachel. No, we dealing. I just put it out. I planted misinformation.
The answer is not clear cut. I think we're stuck in either or.
Yeah.
Which limits possibility.
Facts.
So instead of saying either we meet every week or I don't have you at all, which can be very scary, then we find something that's in the middle. So when this is different, I will see you in different formats and we may be able to come together on this format and I may see you in person. So now you're creating more and more possibility, which reduces some of the anxiety that you feel about, I won't have this anymore, I won't have this anymore. So again, it's a matter of semantics, but if you do either or limits possibilities because there's only two options with either or. But when you say what's the and, the middle, that creates options for possibility. If I can't meet you, then are we meeting in person? Because that's an option now. Maybe I'll have a smaller Zoom chat. Maybe we'll have separate rooms for different topics. I can go on, but that's the coaching. That's the coaching side coming out. But
that's dope, bro. That's dope.
So do not think of either or. Think of and.
There's a whole fight on living single in chat. This is what I have to live with. This is why this is dope. Mind, just as again a little bit of self-admission, Roxanne, I'm totally binary, so it's problematic for me. I'm not binary in the LGBTQ sense, just binary in the sense that I'm either.
X and O.
I'm an extremist by my nature. It's not something I'm proud of. I wish I wasn't sometimes, but it's kind of who I am. So I'm very. It's either you love me or you hate me. I don't understand the in between. It's either you're for me or you're against me. So I mean, for everybody else, yeah. For me, well, I don't know.
We do it because either or is I can plan for those and I can prepare and then I will know how to respond and behave in those situations. And that's scary as shit. I don't know what else to say, but that's what it is.
It is. I can't run a predictive analysis on possibilities based on and.
No.
And I did mention I'm an overthinker, so and does not work. It does not compute.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Isa.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that you brought up, Lyle, kind of resonated with the misinformation, disinformation that's happening. That I think has been something that I've really struggled with in this pandemic. A lot of people come to me for some clarity, and it's really amazing the kind of stuff that people come to me with. And I'm also struggling sometimes to have a boundary. And also to not be exasperated, like, really? This is what you're asking me? Like, so I think that's something I have to figure out a way to deal with it. But one thing that came up recently that I didn't think about, because I'm not African-American, but I have a lot of African-American friends, because I was talking about vaccines and
mistrust that they have.
The mistrust in the US. Of the African-American community, which is well-grounded, right? With the
Tuskegee alone.
And there are other,
for sure.
That's just one, you know, so that's something that I am struggling with. And especially because, you know, as you guys brought up, I think Rachel is the one, I think you were talking about it, with the time frame that they took to develop vaccines. The fastest we've ever done it in our history is 4 years.
4 years.
Right? And that was for Ebola, 5 years for mumps. So they're talking about new ways of doing vaccine, looking at mRNA, which I'm, you know, trying to educate myself about. But like the person who reached out to me, it was a real fear of, you know, there was a kind of off the cuff comment by a French scientist about testing of vaccine in Africa. Now, the way he said it was very inappropriate. You know, he tried to walk it back, but then it was too late. You know, he was saying that we should not leave Africa. When he walked it back, he was saying we shouldn't leave Africa out of it just because it's not spreading there right now. They should also be a part of the trials, was how he tried to walk it back. But the way it was said initially was, let's just test it in Africa. Which is, you know, which is what he said. He tried to walk it back and reframe you know? So that's something that I have to say that I am struggling with. On the one hand, I am a scientist and I am a proponent of we have to make vaccines, we have to be able to test it on humans, that's just how it works. But then also acknowledging a real fear here of look at the places they want to open first in certain states, right? The hairdressers, the barbershops, etc.
All the black
You know,
stores.
exactly. And the stuff that you cannot have social distancing. But
Correct.
it's like these are the places we should open first, which make no sense. And then the idea of, you know, when there's a vaccine, should I even vaccinate? You know, and my answer is yes. If there's a vaccine, you should take it. But on the other hand, it's like it's a real fear that people have here. So I have to say that I have been struggling, number one, with the general misinformation of not knowing who to look to for proper information, the fact that we cannot look to the federal government for any kind of guidance whatsoever. You know, that scientists are villainized, and it's really kind of nuts for me right now in this country, I have to say. So that's a part of my struggle and my anxiety, and the kind of the influx of texts and calls, and you know, with 5G, if I hear about 5G one more time, but I have to, you know, take a breath, because there's real fears that people, and then the fears are heightened because we're actually in a pandemic, you know. So it's been a struggle, I have to say.
Just two things just to piggyback on you very quickly, if you don't mind. So the part of that problem for me as well is I feel like I have a responsibility as part of my human social contract, that if I know better, I should at least, you know, provide the information. Do it as you please. But it's difficult for me sometimes to like stand on a line and hear two people talking a pack of nonsense. You know it's a pack of nonsense, and not just turn around and go, all right, here, let me help you with this, right? It's not that hard. You know what I mean? And just like break it down. Of course, I have my own little imposter syndrome going on, Roxanne. So there's that drama. Like, who am I to explain this, right? Like, I just had a whole spiel about RNA and DNA shit in front of your eyes. It's like, what are you doing, fool?
You got it right, though. You got it right.
I know, because I listen one as talk, as crazy as that may sound. So, I mean, there's that. I feel like there's this responsibility, and it's as a tiring one. I feel like the original Peter Parker Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire one, you know, along with great power comes great responsibility kind of thing. So I don't know how to navigate that, to be honest with you, because like shorter people that I know are a lost cause that I will just write off from the start, I feel like, yeah, but I have to bother. Like I've had talks with Courtney for the week about tech things. And as Courtney would say to you all during these meetings, you know, I have been having these talks with him for years. You know what I mean? But Courtney still has human value to me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bother. If it was some random dude in the street, guys, I'm going to be like, yeah, whatever. Nah, I ain't doing this. I'm tired. I'm old and I'm tired. I'm turning 40 this year. I'm tired. I want no part of this. So, I mean, as one, the second thing I wanted to just tag on to very, 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 very quickly. Geez, I can't remember now, but it was right up the alliance. I'll get back to it. Just give me a second. That's just the old age or the alcohol I was drinking, because I usually drank too much. My cup was overflowing.
I think Tahira,
Tahira had her hand up.
Tahira
Oh, it was the 5G stuff. Yeah.
wanted something to say. Well, had something to say.
Tahira had to jump in. It was the 5G thing. I'll get back to it. Tahira, all this was.
So my comment wasn't in regards to the 5G. It was more so with Yasa, and she was talking about like some of the Americans and what we're concerned about. Because I'm an African American, and I've always stood on, you know, you take care of yourself based off of like your I would say the food that you eat. I don't take vaccines. Like I don't take flu shots. I don't, you know, do experimental trials and things like that. For me, I always do my research and say, okay, is there foods or herbs or some vitamins that I can be taking that's going to take care of me and my family? And I transfer that information on to my son and or friends that surround me, because I'm very skeptical about putting anything in my body that I don't feel is natural and if I don't trust it. For example, here in the US, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Yasa, when I go into a Rite Aid, if they're pushing like, hey, we're giving away flu shots, you want to get one today? That is very, you know, that scares me, because it's like, why are you pushing something on me? Usually something that's really going to take care of you, they usually charge you for it. Like it's going to be an expensive amount. But you go into a Rite Aid, you go into like some random corner store, they're giving flu shots. So I'm like, this can't be safe if it's free. So I always keep those type of things in mind when, you know, when they're handing out. So when that thing, I guess they communicate like, hey, there's going to be a vaccine within a year coming up. My thing is like, you know, I'm going to continue down the path that I've been doing, and that's taking care of myself by natural resources. And I think a lot of Americans need to focus on that. Like there are, like, for example, when I go to the market, I notice that people are buying up all the vitamin C tablets when you could just buy sweet peppers, when you could just buy fruits. You know, all of that stuff is available, but they'll rather take something that's not natural because they think that that's what worked, because that's what was communicated by the FDA. For example, which kind of, like, I think maybe sometime last year, they told you, the FDA also told you that you didn't need to wash your meat. Like that kind of stuff. Like, so when I see that come across my screen, it's like, how can you trust the FDA and the rest of these the government agencies to say, like, when we bring out this vaccine, that this is going to help you? And I know, Yiza, when you saw that report about the Lysol, you know, it's just like those little things alone just pushes me more and more to say, you know what, pick up a book that will teach you about an essential oil that's going to help you, an herb that's going to help you. And if more African Americans do that, I think we will be less, you know, dependent upon, not saying that science doesn't work, because I don't, of course, you know, I know that very smart Yeza, and we have to, you know, go by science, but at the same time, you have to look in within yourself and just make sure that you're taking care of yourself by natural resources, because it works. Obviously, I rarely get sick, like, you know.
But I have a question with this particular pandemic we're in, though, because I mean, the first part of what you said is very true. There are lots of ways for us to get our vitamins and minerals, etc., from the foods that we eat, and we do have to just take care of our bodies and not always rush to supplements, etc. But specifically with the pandemic, though, because this is again what my other friend who came to me was asking me about. With this specific pandemic, if a vaccine is created that the people in the authorities say is safe and efficacious, would you take it? Or actually, I should ask in general, who would sign up for the vaccine? I don't want to put the spot on you specifically, Tahira. It's just a general question. Like, who would sign up for the vaccine?
Everybody's cameras off. They can't raise their hands.
Okay. So on who's on camera? So Cassie said yes. Maggie, Roxanne, yes.
Everybody who's
Lyle,
outside the states
yes.
would say yes, and everybody who's in on black would say no. That's just, I have all my black friends in the states saying the exact same thing that Tahira said. And for
Roxanne is here though.
Well, yeah,
Rachel, did you say yes or no? Sorry, I didn't see.
Rachel.
No, sorry, no, I heard. I was just unmuting. I think more than likely I would, but I mean, you are aware of my investigative self as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think more than likely is what I would do is the research to know, you know, is this a particularly rushed vaccine for economic reasons, and what are the side effects of it? Like, those are just the conversations I like to have in general about health. And I personally, someone, I had mumps, I had measles. I believe strongly in vaccines. I know the argument of parents who are concerned about the cocktail, that is far more, sorry, I can't articulate the word right now, but just not necessarily dangerous, but it just feels dangerous for the young children to have.
Because it's too many antigens at one time for your immune system to deal with.
So for parents in that particular situation, yes. But for me personally, I firmly think that more scientists should be political leaders. In my opinion, I think that the vaccine will be very important. But you guys especially know that for me, it would be a conversation of, you know, is this a situation where they're saying, look, we've done the best that we can, and if we're going to not have the world collapse, we need to put out this vaccine now. And then 4 years down the line, there's an improved vaccine with less side effects. Then I would be having conversations with my doctor about the pros, the cons.
Yeah.
Should I not, based on my health, based on my immunity, based on my personal strength, yes or no? Like, those are the kinds of conversations I would be having, because I'm keen. I honestly I'm uncertain about a way out of this outside of a vaccine, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think eventually, and you know, when you hear conversations about, you know, we gonna just have to go back out there and work and deal, I mean, that's a form of herd immunity, right? That we're looking at, and honestly,
a lot of people are going to die to get that herd immunity.
Correct.
I think so, absolutely. And I think that unfortunately, until there is a vaccine, until there's greater understanding of this disease, that is exactly what we're looking at. Because as much as I think human beings, I think most of us want to be compliant, but we are 2 months into it and people are already losing it. They're already coming apart at the seams. So I think for the most part, as soon as they say there is a vaccine, people are not going to be asking those questions. They're just going to be like, give me the vaccine so I can go back to work, so I can feed my children, I can get my child back in school, I can ensure that, you know, that the world is up and running again. But I know for sure, like, I would be consulting you. I would be having a conversation. I have another friend that is in quality control of vaccines. And she, for instance, once had a conversation with me that America was short of X vaccine. I believe it was yellow fever. So doctors were using one from Europe. And because she's in quality control for vaccines, she refused that vaccine because they have less particular quality control from where it was coming from. So she refused that particular vaccine. I don't, unless I talk to people like you and her, I don't have that knowledge to know that. So that's what, and that's not to discourage anybody from getting it, because I personally think that, you know, Fauci himself has openly said what we do not want to do is rush a vaccine that makes the situation worse than it has to be. He has said that. In fact, the anti-vaxxers latched on to that.
And that would be such a disaster.
Right?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so I'm just going to finish up that I am keen for a vaccine, but I know for sure I would be consulting people in the field, speaking with my doctor, expressing and talking about pros and cons. You know, is it the same as me getting the disease? You know, the effects that this original vaccine is going to get, and is it worth me trying to get COVID or whatever, even though we don't know, we're not quite sure about immunity, we're not quite sure about reoccurrence, right? We don't know, we really don't, and as an RNA virus, it is mutatable, if that's a word, right? So there's just a lot of questions to be asked, and I am very keen to see a vaccine, but just in the nature of who I am, it would be a lot of questions asked before I line up to go and get it. You know?
I think a number of my views are coming from, because I work for a pharmaceuticals company. So when I'm on these on-hands call, it's a huge concern. So it makes me say, okay, you know what, if this is going to come out in a year, I'm not one to sign up for this vaccine. So, and we're having these calls probably twice a week, and they always have new information. So it makes me even, I just decline to get something like that. And within the next year, I don't think that it's a good idea, to be honest. Like, without giving out too much information, I don't think it's a good idea for the next year.
Yeah, no, nothing I would think under the Trump FDA and CDC, just based on the budget cuts and the purge of scientists alone, would lean anybody in that direction. If you add to that the boast that we have removed the most regulations ever. Regulations were put there for a reason. There's a reason you can't drive around that particular corner at 100. Somebody sat down with a few cars and decided, you know what, maybe, just maybe, if you have a Ferrari or a Porsche, you could pull it off. But the average person in a Corolla is going to end up in a ditch. So how about we set the speed limit to, notice the Corollas, just saying, notice the Corollas. Any Corolla owners in the fields, get over it, right? It's not a Ferrari or a Porsche, right? But I mean, this is why we have regulations for across the board. Some more punitive than others, and some more serious than others. So when I hear total nincompoop and his nincompoop son-in-law, who's in charge of nincompoop things, steering policy, I put it to you all, is more than just time. You all actually need a whole new federal system of government. Because the one thing that Americans should have found out, but 49% of them still don't seem to get it, or 45 or whatever, is that the government's actually there more than to make your life hard and to take taxes from you. There are this whole series of responsible things that somebody has to do. And this can't be a state by state, county by county, open it up, go back to business. The only people clamoring for that normal, because I mean, let's be fair, the old way did not work for everybody. The haves, the have-nots, the tax cut for all Trump's rich partners, whatever is the case. The only people I know that are clamoring to go back to normal are the 80% that Chomsky says, just follow blindly into whatever the leaders say, the sheep, and the rest of people who were making the money off of us. This is what this has taught me more than anything else. There are people who need us to make money. And that's it. And what we get in exchange, we get to feed our families. It's about a fair trade. For some of us, we get cable TV and internet too, and a nice car, and an okay house, and a whatever. But they get private jets. And their private jets need to fly right now, and we are really making life hard for them. So I'm not seeing anybody else who's clamoring to try and get a vaccine in under a year, except for the people that it benefits the most. I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Roxanne.
Yeah, Roxanne.
Just again, I'm here. I'm a mental health advocate, and I do work with African American people on a regular basis. And so looking at me, you won't know where I'm from unless I get mad and the accent comes out. So what I like to do is I acknowledge your fear. There's been so many experiments done on people that I would be heartless to not acknowledge that. And so I understand where some of your fear comes from. I do. You know, there's more and more of it coming out in movies where you're like, Jesus, the extent of the testing and things that they've done. So I try to keep that in mind when people express their fears, because there are some validity to it. And so I try to meet people in the middle. If that's what you're going to do, then please keep doing it more. If you want to keep drinking the smoothies that help your immunity, can you wash your hands also? Like, you know, can I marry science with holistic practices so that way I don't feel like, oh God, listen, they're not listening to me. Don't they know? So I have to always lead with that, because I do know that for some people, they know somebody who is tested on. They have themselves been tested on. We can talk about the way that physicians treat minority women, specifically Black women, in our doctor's appointments. I won't even talk about that. So I understand that some of this is not fabricated. It isn't made up to feed your new theory. It is real. So I always go with that and just say, I hear you. I know where it's coming from. This is where I stand, and where can we meet in the middle? Kind of like what Rachel said. I'm going to ask questions, and if it works for me, I'm going to do it. And as a person of choice, you can do the same.
Preach. I mean, if I could tag on real quick before Rachel jumps back in. Oh no, your hand was still up, so I'll just lower it for you. I think, Roxanne, what I've done to touch back on the 5G stuff, because we all kind of came back around to the, you know, the African American realities that I was going to touch on too. But I started asking people, because again, I'm trying not to offend, I'm trying not to speak to you, I'm trying to engage you, right? So I'm going to ask. I'm like, all right, so if COVID is 5G, what do we get for 4G? What disease do we get for 3G? What disease do we get for 2G? What disease do we have for GSM? Like, we have to work this through. It can't be that just because we got 5G, we got a disease. If we're going to do this, let's use some, you know, science. If you want to use science, use science. Let's do that. If you want to do comparison, let's do that. So that's what I do, Isa. I have an interesting conversation about 4G and MERS, SARS, bird flu. I'm like, okay, so we had MERS, SARS, bird flu, avian flu, and we had 4G and 3G in the period of time. Why was nobody saying, oh no, it's because we have more cell towers now? Well, you know, like, we have a little discussion about it. I've had good friends of mine come to me on that, and I've had to bring them back from the brink of tinfoil hat syndrome. So it's been tough, but I'm glad for me at least, I'm glad I had some of those 5G conversations, because I didn't want to lose them people to the void. Like, there's some people that matter to me. I didn't want to lose them to the void. I don't know. Yeah, I want to think about it. I really do. You know, and then it became weaning them off of, okay, so guys, let's adopt some rules here. No sharing of Facebook videos from YouTube sites called vaccinesareahoax.com. Let's not do that. Let's not, you know, let's just not do those things. I have too many friends who are exactly in Tahira's shoes. I have a friend of mine, I met her last year in Jamaica. We still keep in contact. And she said to me point blank, she's like, I hope you don't judge me, but I'm not taking the vaccine when it comes out. And this is a Black American woman. She's like 46, I think. And I said to her, no, I understand. And she kind of looks at me like, really? I'm like, yeah, just Tuskegee alone. We don't need to go anywhere else. We don't need to go anywhere else. And she nods her head just like that. I'm like, yeah, we good. And she's like, okay, I forget. You've studied. You understand this thing. You read. She's like, yeah, I usually tell people and they start to freak out. I'm like, no, there's a big difference between you saying what you said, or in my mind, to hear her saying what she said, and Becky saying that she doesn't want to give her kids the vaccine for measles because it's infringing on her rights and her freedoms. Becky don't care about social contracts. She ain't trying to hear that, right? Becky don't mind right now if all of us go, once, you know, we get sick, once she gets her lattes and they get their meat to barbecue, right? That's why all the Tyson plants are going up in flames right now. They don't care because they don't have to do it. So, yeah, I'll keep my tinfoil hat in my back pocket. So I'm going to leave that alone. What else we have with hands? No hands?
Rich.
No. Yeah. Keep my tinfoil hat in my back pocket. This is what it is.
Not to get too sciencey, because I tend to get quite that.
Really?
But we
like it.
I want to know.
Yeah, I just was wondering if you had read about the work being done in the United Arab Emirates on the stem cell approach to finding some sort of resolve for the issue with corona. And if you have, outside of, okay, trying to do that for the planet and what that would cost if it were a viable thing, but how something like that might work, because that was probably the only article that I read that I felt some semblance of hope.
Really?
Outside of a vaccine. I would probably, if for another conversation, I share it, with you guys for you to read, so you have a reference to it. But
Put the link in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Or can you give a quick synopsis of what they were doing?
Well, gosh, I read it about a couple of weeks ago, but it was something to the effect of,
Don't pop a blood vessel. It's not that important.
no, I know. I was
Sure, you cared. You're good.
something to the effect of, I can't remember if it was the same conversation on platelets, but something where the what they come up with is utilizing the stem cells of the body in order to replace and fix that which has been infected, to boost the personal immunity when your immune system has kind of gone into blitz mode.
Yes.
That when that part where it's kind of like, well, we don't know what we're shooting at, let's shoot at everything. But just the use of stem cells in order to curb that very strong reaction that then ends up destroying the lungs.
Yeah.
And again, I could send it to you just for more specificity and for my own remembering of it. But
yeah,
it
so
was really interesting.
in the call, I think the first one I joined, I think I showed this diagram of the time course of the disease. I'm not sure, where most people have like a cough, a fever, fatigue, and then about 2 weeks in, a subset of people have acute respiratory distress syndrome. And those are usually people who have to go on a ventilator, etc. And there's a cytokine storm that happens. So that cytokine storm is what a lot of therapeutics are being aimed at. And this is also where they're using stem cells to try to repair some of the damage that's happening in the lungs, because it's no longer the virus that's causing a lot of the issues, but your own body going into overdrive. So instead of using a sniper to take out the virus, is using a bomb to take out all the cells that have the virus with it.
Yeah,
basically.
that's what I mean by blitz mode. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the stem cell therapy, so the mesenchymal stromal cells. So it's not stem cells to replace cells that are present, but they kind of go in and release trophic factors. So they release a lot of juices, I can't think of a better word, sorry, to kind of help your body heal itself. Right. So I think that, but as you said, which is also coming back to the same problem with the vaccines, we have never had to create therapeutics for the number of people that need it, right? So even if we were to create a vaccine, the likelihood that you and I would get it, small. Right? So unless we have somebody who's like a first responder or something in here, you might have a chance of getting it before the rest of us. So, and it's the same thing with the stem cells. So the type of stem cells that they use, it is a type of stem cell that you can scale up. So you can treat lots of people, because it's not like, for most stem cells, your body rejects it because it's not from you. But these specific type of stem cells, they are immune privileged. So if you put it into, like if you get stem cells from your body and you put it into me, my body won't reject it. So it can scale up, and you can treat the sickest of the sick. But again, to scale to the quantity that we will need when we open back up and people start going out en masse and these numbers start spiking. But the good thing is, though, that so many different scientists and groups are working on different, either from the disease getting into your body, the disease getting into your cell, the virus getting into your cell, the virus being able to replicate remdesivir, which they're really pushing here now based on, I mean, the clinical data is waste of time. It's a waste of time. It's better than it was better than placebo, right?
Better than sugar water.
I'm not muted. My bad. I'm gonna mute.
It's better than sugar water.
Right? No, but where we are now, anything better than placebo, I mean, we grasping, right? At straws, because
dreams,
it's scary. But the thing is, The thing is, because the likelihood of getting a vaccine that's safe, that we know is not going to make your body inhale that virus even more, is a ways off. So we have to go for therapeutics to help us to be able to fight it so that we don't die. So that's kind of where a lot of these companies are pivoting to, which is like the stem cell therapeutics. So I think it is good that we are looking at lots of different ways so that if you do get it, you don't die. So that's kind of where we are now. Yeah.
As far as the vaccine goes, because my boy Chef is here, and once we have Chef, I feel comforted. And that's real talk, though. I think I was reading some stuff today that the oldest technique of making vaccines is going to more than likely be the one to be the most effective, right? So remember again how this works, yeah, so this is you take a small
When
quantity.
you say most effective, what do you mean?
Well, the guy was saying it like based on all of the things that we're hitting and missing with in terms of vaccines right now, because Trump and pelting everything on the wall to stick. In particular, the whole modify the DNA, you know, like copy and paste, like if it's Microsoft Word vaccines they're working on. He's like, look, there's a reason that none of these things have stood muster and been passed and approved as a vaccine. He's like, it's not that they don't work, they're more problematic than they're helpful. He's like, if you ask me, the way this is going to play out, we're going to go back to the old school polio vaccine method and it's going to work. He's like, there's some dudes in China working on it right now and they're actually seeing success already and they're already getting to the point of human testing. Take some of the virus, it's inactive and you injected that. Right, so that method, he's like, yeah, he's like, if I have to put money on it, there goes Chef. Chef is like, yes. See, once I get Chef approval, I'm a happy guy. They like it. This is probably what's gonna be. So if we do have a chance to break that record of 4 years, it's because we've had 40 years since polio, 50 years since polio, and we kind of have an idea of okay, how best could we use all the tech, I guess, yeah, is to make that method faster?
The thing is, using the attenuated vaccine, which a lot of companies are working on, because that is the tried and true, that has worked for lots of different diseases. The problem with that is not necessarily making the vaccine, it is making the right vaccine that will give us immunity.
Correct.
And that process takes time. You have to test it in a small group of people, you have to test it in a larger group of people. We cannot right now, because we don't know enough about this disease, we can't do these accelerated trials where you expose people to you give them the vaccine and you expose them to the virus. So the first people who will get it would be the first responders because they have a higher exposure. But it takes time. You have to give it to them and you have to watch these people to see what happens. So even if we can make the vaccine, it's going to take time before we will get the results to know that it's safe and it doesn't enhance your chance of getting the disease, which is a risk with vaccination. Yes. So I agree, it is the tried and true, but the time frame doesn't change.
Time frame will change. Not
mRNA will be faster, but we've never successfully done that.
Correct. That's for Gerald, but sadly he's not here because like people really, again, we've gone back to the holes that we feel most comfortable in. You know, if we feel comfortable here and our vaccine's going to come out in December, we literally forget the man who's saying this is lying through his teeth because he's probably going to get charged the day he walks out of office, you know, in January or whatever. He probably had like 10 cases that they waited on him for. But we somehow, fingers crossed, Rachel, we're all hoping here. We're all hoping, right? I mean, he's literally, you saying to yourself, well, I just can't wait to get back to normal when the vaccine come out in December. And I've had to stop somebody and go, why do you think there's a vaccine coming out in December? Well, this, well, that, and like all around the bush, right? Yeah, it's all around the bush. And I go, but the only person that I know saying that is Donald Trump. Would you say anything else Donald Trump said? He did say drink bleach. You're trying now one too? And you know, the conversation get kind of quiet. It's like, yeah, no, this is not.
He was being sarcastic.
Yeah, I was watching it live. If you want, you could sell me a piece of land and to be able to plant peas. I was watching that live, sis. Ain't nobody could take that out of my mind. If you were here with me sitting on my couch, maybe you could try it out with me. But my jaw hit the floor on a different level. I was like, let me tell you how bad it was. I started questioning myself if something was wrong with me. Why didn't I think of that soon enough? And for like half a second, I was like, how they putting light in the body? Maybe down my throat. Maybe like I start to question. Like I have one of those little camera things that the SWAT teams use on the doors and in cars and stuff. Like I have one of those. I'm like, well, maybe they put that inside. And then I go, no, but cancer. Nobody will figure that out. Like, I started working this thing out. So the lie is ridiculous, yeah. So the lie was like, I was like, what am I doing? This is dumb. He can't do this. And then, reality hits you. So trust and believe. This is just where we are because this is what we think. Uh-oh, Chef is sharing. Chef is sharing. Everybody meet Chef. He's our resident genius.
No. Lisle
Yes,
is
you are.
resident genius.
Yes, you
Good
are.
night, everyone.
Here we go.
I didn't know this
I'm
would go up
totally
one
not
time.
trolling you. I'm not trolling you, chef. I'm not trolling.
Sorry about the interruption. I didn't know it would share one time. I actually didn't know I had the privilege to
How you
share my
mean?
screen.
We are
But
equals. Break it down now. Break it down now.
yes, I think this is one of the things you were talking about, Lyle.
Yes, sir.
It's soak versus sabin.
Yeah, the Sabin method is the one
It
I was
came
talking
around
about.
as you were saying, right?
Yeah.
With the polio vaccine.
I was trying not to get too bright. I was
What
trying not to be
is
too bright.
no. There's a place for that.
I know.
If you all could see, if we look at SOC, this is the one where IPV, where they actually, as I say, they kill the formalized virus, right? And if we just scroll down a little bit, so I just get a little comfortable here, it introduces circulating antibodies. It prevents paralysis, but does not prevent reinfection.
Reinfection, correct.
It's not useful in controlling epidemics. This is what they say. And Isaiah, you can chime in anytime here, right? More difficult to manufacture as it is relatively costly.
Right.
And then we have a quick comparison with the OPV or Sabin method. This is the one where they give it a live attenuated virus. So they scale it down a bit, but they don't kill it. And it's normally given orally. The immunity is both humoral and intestinal, induces antibody quickly. It prevents paralysis and prevents reinfection and can be effectively used in controlling epidemics. Also easier to manufacture and is cheaper.
Much
Now,
cheaper.
if we stop there, all of us would agree it's a no-brainer. Let's go with the Sabin method, the OPV method, right? And just a little, not human history, but it's natural. And I believe we were having a conversation about 2 weeks ago, and we were saying that somehow the children not getting this coronavirus.
Yes.
And I was at wits, and I was asking, how come? How could you tell me that a 5-year-old child who's now developing immunity could be immune to something that I, who am near 4 decades on this earth, have not faced before? You know, my immunity is supposed to be way stronger than a child. So correct. I couldn't understand why they would say children are immune, and it wasn't making sense. The thing is with children, and that's why we leave them on the ground and they eat dirt and all of that, and nothing happens, because their immunity, children, you know, the first thing they do, they crawl on the ground and then when they do that, what they do, they actually activate their body's natural immunity. Right? Anything administered orally, it would pass through the tonsils. The tonsils would take a little reading and let the body know, hey, bad stuff, reject, send out the troops, something like that. When we actually do inoculation or vaccines via injection, we kind of, and the eyes are leaning on you here, we kind of, it's acceptable, yes, but we kind of bypassing the body's natural, puncturing through the skin is not a natural entry there, let's say. So we're basically introducing this attenuated virus or killed virus unexpectedly. But it's, of course, it's weak. It can't do anything. And the body will say, okay, this is a foreign substance inside here. They would send out the troops, send out the feelers. They would deal with it. They would develop the antigens, etc., naturally. Right? But the preferred way, as we said, yeah, the Sabin method. Hi, son. Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to add there. So for those with the concerns about the vaccine and the timing, I am on the same train. I mean, you know me, Lyle. I always up for the long-term testing. I don't want to 10 years later then by the way, the side effects of this will ... I mean, we've seen that happen before. So I sympathize and I empathize with those who are a bit skeptical for any rush.
As they should be. Just as a heads up, this thing keeps moving. So we talk about the mutation because amazing, and the little time we spent together, the virus itself has, given us that feedback. This article that popped up today in the New York Times, and I see it popping up like everywhere. Because of course, like a true nerd, I read the New York Times every day, right? That's not good for my health. So only this rail dread syndrome and nobody knows what. and they haven't correlated it. It's not tied to COVID yet, but it's problematic. So we kept saying that they're not showing symptoms. We don't know if COVID is infected them, and we're also not sure what it's doing to them because it's not doing anything visible.
This
Up
is with
until
regards to
this,
Kawasaki syndrome.
yeah,
Sorry,
that
I
I
was
posted.
putting in my headphones, so you got distorted.
Yeah, no worries. I posted it on Facebook earlier today too, and I think I copied your, I tagged you all in a couple
Yeah,
of them.
you
But
did. I didn't get a chance to read it, but
no beef. It's
a
too much things to
girlfriend
read
of
already.
mine actually, her daughter had Kawasaki syndrome about 4 years ago.
Serious.
In Trinidad.
What?
Strange symptoms, had no idea why her daughter was sick, that kind of thing. She had bruises that looked like strawberries on her body, all over,
Wow.
genitals, blah blah blah. Very young. I think she was maybe 3 at the time. And through research, she was going to Sinclair Medical actually at the time, and through research is how they found out what was wrong and was able to treat her, because it's not something that I think they'd
It's
seen
not regular. It's not
before
regular.
here. Yeah, and they had a difficult time diagnosing initially, but it is something that you can survive.
Yeah, so I mean, this has just been appearing in European countries hit hard by coronavirus, and it's now hit New York with the first 15 kids. So maybe, Chef, in about a week or two, we'll actually be talking about the fact that corona doesn't corona the kids, it does whatever this thing is to them. This thing is interesting. This is why there is no,
Maybe
for me, no
corona
sense
is
of calm and normal of, yeah, next week we good, just go back to work, everybody jiggy, it's a jiggy time again. Like, nah, we in
Tell
the
you all, this is the most versatile virus ever. I
Yeah,
swear.
we agreed on that 2 weeks ago. This thing we were saying that before it started to show its head being versatile, Chef. To be fair, the journey now starts. I'm gonna stay locked in my command center and be happy, Rachel. I swear to you, I have my happiness. I've surrounded myself with everything I need.
Is anybody else out here to contribute this evening, guys? It's 11:13. Y'all not doing too bad.
Wrap up today? Who getting wrap up today? Acacia.
I don't like how Yaisa face looking. Yaisa has something to say. I'm sure.
Boy, that's fatigue. The black woman is the cradle of civilization. She dealing with everything and then some.
I think I'll give wrap up to Kosi today. See you next.
Yeah, Kosi, don't slash no tires, please.
Wait, so y'all have like a wrap-up time now?
Yes, we had to institute it after the 3:45 the other day.
We tried doing, we said we were initially doing 2 hours. Obviously, that's not happening.
Okay.
So then I thought to myself, maybe 3 hours, which I think is reasonable-ish. But the wrap-up is really where, when at some point I am sleepy and I see everybody fading, I say, okay, so you're the last one. Wrap it up.
We went at 3:45 in the morning and then it hit us.
Yeah.
We can't do this. We old.
Yeah.
We can't do this. We tired. We can't do this. We busy. Courtney, hurry up quick, because no course, you had to wrap up and look at the wrap up face too. I never seen
go ahead.
Hey, Courtney, your mic underwater as usual. Oh God. I can't see and get back your mic.
Sorry, I was just listening on my headphones. No. Usually what happens is Acacia says, guys, is there anything else you'd like to discuss tonight?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the time and
yeah, boy.
We come into an end and then we just catch a second win now. Like. Nice how we just end up at all kind of 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
First of all, it have its usual suspects.
Yes, let's be honest.
Suspects goes like this. Chef, I don't want to back talk coming in out here.
Nah, he right here. He did.
Chef does come with some topic that's just how you pop in. You understand? And it does one need. Who's the next one, boy? Lyle might drop a little.
Yeah, I have shares in that. I can't duck it at all. I have shares.
In my defense, for those who are new here, people like Roxanne, I am the resident leftist. I take it as my duty to add a little balance, because what I've realized, we have a lot of like-minded individuals. And, we basically all from the same page, cut from the same cloth, right? Yes, and the skilly. So sometimes I do it deliberately, sometimes I'm genuinely concerned, so I do try to add a little balance. But I think I did it too early because now Lyle kind of tags me with the tinfoil hat.
I tell you, we're not doing that no more.
And the Kosi tries to defend but throws me under the bus. I don't know.
Roxanne, Kevin is just the 10th man in the Israeli methods. You know the Israeli method from World War Z, right? If the council meets and everybody says the same answer, the 10th man is given the arduous task of proving them wrong. Because there's no way all of us could be on the same page. Somebody must have a dissenting voice. That is pretty much all it is, to be fair.
And I absolutely agree with it.
Yeah, chef. Without chef, we can't be nowhere. That is how it is. And then, fortunately, I'll be honest with you, Roxanne, this is where you're now seeing the dependency syndrome live, right? You're seeing it live now. Like, what was doing till 3:45 in the morning? Because I see the look on your face like, what? Yeah, girl is like heroin. Straight
Talking, just talking, shipping it.
Straight to the vein. Yeah, now that's how I am. Once my head touch that pillow is dead. Head touch bed is dead. We ain't going.
I don't have that luxury.
But
in defense of the late talking, we don't talk shopping. I don't know what Akasia tell we talking shop. We talk inspirational stuff.
Nice, be some serious heavy thing when it ready.
Inspirational stuff that yesterday man was catching tobacco over the chat. It had a big Facebook comment going on and he was like, I feel my left lung missing something right. You know what I mean?
Tough.
But just you give me virtual COVID, or my lungs getting this?
Yeah, when no course, do the wrap up now, so the woman no thing, she covered and reached the back of she head a little bit again.
Before you wrap up, I was saying I nominated him. I wasn't saying that we were wrapping up, but on the whole, as per usual, I would ask, is there anything anybody wishes to discuss before we go?
No, Cassie, don't do that.
Oh, awesome, great. So I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It was fantastic. Roxanne, thank you. I really appreciated your effort.
Mic's on for the clap, people. You don't have a clap with your mic off. Come on now.
Yeah, I think this was amazing. I'm absolutely happy about it. And please, guys, feel free to drop in if you have any comments, anything that you want for that I could probably put through to Roxanne at some point. Granted, you have to pay for our service at some point, guys. This is not going to be free 100%. Just think about it. I'm just really grateful that you guys have been here and part and parcel of the conversation. I hope after our conversation last week that this was actually helpful to all of you. It definitely was to me. Courtney.
Before we wrap up, where's the scene for tomorrow?
Tomorrow? Friday.
I said Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What is going on tomorrow?
Well,
I don't know.
Oreo, come on, man.
I can't say Trinidadians can't read push and pull. Trinidadians can't read push and pull.
Nobody can read push and pull, okay? People do what they want at the door.
Speak for yourself. I know the read.
I don't read. I just push or pull, whichever works.
You don't understand, Kat. When I have a hard day of dealing with these people in the institution that I work.
Dan, Roxanne watching you. Just be careful what you're saying next. Get something like that on the road,
right?
Roxanne ready to get
Sydney, I will think about it. I will let you all know tomorrow evening.
No, we go to the Monday, Wednesday,
Friday.
My
mood.
I know, but you don't understand, Lyle. The levels of withdrawal that I went through last night.
No,
we'll make up for it on Friday. Friday's conversation will be very,
It's a hero. I didn't realize the hero was still here.
Good night, Tahira.
Bye, Tahira.
Yes, and so too, Alicia has gone. Gideon has gone. So we have lots of.
I just say now, I don't want to be that random person on Facebook that says,
Again, the keyword is again.
After all, you're sick last night, especially you, Mr. Lyle.
It was three of you posted about it.
Okay, so how about this? Because I'm taking this up from Roxanne. Maybe the guy who actually listened to Roxanne, right? How about you initiate something? It may be with a smaller group, it may be, just you alone. I don't know, maybe you plus one. You could bring your plus one, or you could hold a vibe. Franca, you not seriously coming this thing this hour here.
Sir, leave Franca alone, please. Thanks.
Did I say that out loud? I didn't realize my mic was on. I was hacked.
Franca is my people. Leave her alone.
I was hacked. I didn't say that. That wasn't me. Yeah, Courtney. So, these are the things that Roxanne spoke of, and like my son grandmother say, don't waste the woman's strength. So let us apply some of the principles that, she has so espoused. You know, call somebody, pick up and call Andy, just say hi, how do you do? Send him a little WhatsApp, send him a Facebook, start a little thing in the chat in Facebook. You know, never know. Nakosi might be playing a little card. You could jump on card at Nakosi, do a little private server.
I'm not a gamer, bro. I don't do
You're not?
How you in IT
Dan,
and
what
not a gamer?
you is, boy?
And this how we just go to 3 o'clock in the morning, people.
Precisely, gentlemen. Kosi, can you please give me the wrap up? Oh, Franca, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We are in the process of wrapping up. But it was really nice to see that you decided to join us. I'm so happy to see you here. Kosi, if you can give us that wrap up, that'd be great.
Wow.
Before we wrap up, Friday is still Relax Friday, yes?
I'll think about it. Yes, it is.
Mind Fuhrer hasn't agreed as yet. When Mind
It
Fuhrer
is, but I'm sure we can have some other conversations in there on Friday. I mean, Friday is Friday.
All right, and for all those who have the banker, we call it the Tuesday and Thursday banker.
Right.
Just post anything in Facebook and tag me. Trust me.
Yeah, there's our vibes.
And start to comment on, you know, ting. But it was nice, people. I must have the conversation. But
yeah, Isa has a question though.
Yeah, Isa, on the weekend we had the club on a Sunday. We had the club on
Saturday we have games night. Well, we did games night last week and it was good. So Saturday, for now, we continue to do games
night. Yeah, we might have another games night for sure.
And on Sunday, Lisle, Lisle has a DJ school and he's associated with other DJs and they do Club Armada, which is essentially a DJ session from 4 p.m. Anthony is also on that and Courtney's there next week. And they play music from 4 till 11 p.m. like real DJ session, R&B, soca, hip hop, everything, but different DJs every hour, and it's pretty cool, pretty nice. I was painting to them last week, so
I think it's a vibe, personally. I like it. So
yeah, I shared it today saying weekend is a must. So please, if you see it, feel free to log in next week. I mean, you don't have to actively participate here because it's really just them playing music. So you get to hear a lot of, at home type stuff, at home type DJs, and just have good music through your house rather than your regular
schmegular stuff. I'm actually not going to say.
Tidal.
For the foreigners who want the soca fix, this weekend is actually going to be a very good one for you. While Raman R&B continues from 4 to 5, and I'm going to touch them Erica Badu's and get that going in that direction. Courtney is there, and he's originally Soca Banton, so that's our Soca for sure.
Power Soca, especially.
Oh, God, vomit. Anthony's going to be there. So Anthony's hit that hard. He's gear from the Shalimar all the way to the Soca. You don't know. Have you going. Homeboy dropped some bossa nova the other day. I was like shitting bricks in my own house because I can't remember when last I hear a DJ drop bossa nova in a DJ set on a reel. And like it was dope too. It was no off thing. It was dope. Right? So yeah. It's gonna be interesting. So if you're a foreigner and you're about our life, yeah. Trust me, when the ladies get fed up, they stand up in front of the camera and start to, balance themselves. So it's all good. Yeah, Kosi, I'm sure he'll get to Eiffel. He's a happy man. And Cindy and them started to do the thing and sway. He like that. Bare vibes. So yeah, don't know. So that's
it's a Zoom link. I'll share it with you, Yaisa.
There you go. Problem solved. So yeah, back to the wrap up, like skills for 2020. I wonder if we can wrap up this year from skills, because this year was very shitty. I don't think 2020 deserves a wrap up.
You need to fast forward this year, bro.
Yeah.
Quick, fast, and in a
hurry. We need to reboot. Somebody just pull the plug. Power cycle here.
Somebody post on Facebook. What
people leave drunk Sunday for
about the 10th. So my reply was, I think we're skipping Mother's Day this year.
Facts.
Everything for 2020. Then the person replied with the usual mother thing. Well, mothers never skipped a day when you were making you. So my reply was, even your birthday, but everything else going.
Oh boy. I saw today in the presser one of those idiot reporters.
No, yeah, here we go.
Asked, well, there's no Mother's Day brunch. So what do you suggest that people do to celebrate Mother's Day? And I'm like, fam, sis, my girl.
Pick up the phone and call mom.
Call your mother.
Call your mother and say how you're going. How do you do?
FaceTime her, WhatsApp
Let me guess, AZP News?
No,
Which
it
one?
actually wasn't ACP. It was some other random rando, probably from Express or something.
These people need to
But
register
people
their
have
business.
been asking these very strange questions. Anyway, Kosi, wrap up. It's
Yeah, Kosi.
11:26. We going good.
Hi, people. It was nice. Cheerio.
Cheerio, buddy. 3, 2, 1.